Williams in motion. They'll roll. Daniels out. Down he goes behind the 20. Terrell Bernard with a sack. And number 2 flexes for the camera.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Looking to the end zone. He's got a man. Touchdown. R.J.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Russian 3, dropping 8. Uliangalale steps up, loads and throws. It's caught. It's pitched backwards, up in the air. It's on the ground, still in Clemson's hands. And now it is down. It is over. And the Irish have knocked off number 1 Clemson.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So are we making an announcement here?
Well, we can be if we can. I don't know how we're going to upstage.
No, yeah, you can. Go ahead, make the announcement.
But we'll be in the Ring of Honor.
There we go. All right. Love it. Yeah. You heard it here. I will be first.
While I'm alive.
Here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Well, and I'm back too. Apparently not good enough to be mentioned, but in kidding, nice to be back. Had a nice chance to just kind of decompress a little bit Friday. A couple more of those days coming up this week as well. Many things to get to. Baylor men's basketball over the weekend received, in fact, yesterday, a commitment from one of the top players in the country and guard, Keontae George. He'll join us here momentarily as he picked Baylor over Kansas, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Kentucky. And then also today, we look back at the great life and times and coaching legend, Bobby Bowden. We'll hear from Heisman Trophy quarterback Charlie Ward at 3:30, former Florida State and NFL cornerback, played with the Cowboys a little bit, Mario Edwards Sr. today. And also today, we'll check in with the University of Oregon football team as we comb around or run around the country doing this and that. But if there was any thought whatsoever that some of the, and it's mainly the college football landscape that people look at when it comes to realignment and the SEC with grabbing and now getting eventually Texas and also Oklahoma, Scott Drew and company kind of did shoot across the bow. Hey, we're not done yet. We can still do this. And they've never really had these kind of level of recruits and continued to win. Yes, Isaiah Austin, Perry Jones, among some others. But this one here was a monster commitment for Baylor men's basketball and Coach Drew.
They've had them, but they've never had them all at the same time. You know, it's been spread out a couple years here and a couple years there. But now the class that they have coming in 2021 with Kendall Brown, Langston Love, and all these guys that they have, Jeremy Sohan, and then you throw in 2022, Keontae George. It's a pretty good way to start it off.
Yeah, incredible job by Scott Drew and company, a big-time commit. I mean, a lot of people around the country wanted him, and you know, it's at the guard spot, too, where we know that, you know, in years past when they were kind of on their come-up, they couldn't get a high school guard to save their life. I mean, practically, you know, they kind of constantly went that JUCO route with Cherry and Jackson and, you know, on and on. But they've found something. And, you know, Jared Butler's success, I'm sure, and Davion Mitchell's success, I'm sure, plays into this. That national title definitely carries a lot of weight as well. So, you know, you go and win a national title and you have a national championship game like you did that was so widely viewed and so incredibly impressive against Gonzaga, and you open some eyes. And I think that's apparent now in recruiting, and hopefully they just take advantage of it, keep on the winning, and that'll just get better and better. But that's a big one from this past weekend.
We had a chance, and I know that all the college programs are now practicing, had a chance to be at a couple of media sessions. In fact, one later on tonight with Dave Aranda, head football coach at Baylor. Also, the Olympics, they end. And then Bobby Bowden, the great Bobby Bowden, passed away at the age of 91. Had an opportunity to interview him 3 times in my career. The first time ever when he was recruiting David Warren at John Tyler, the Parade All-American, blue chip of all in the mid-'90s. And, of course, we had him on a couple of times as well. Recently, he did a kickoff luncheon with Baylor, and that was just a few years ago as well. Looking forward to hearing from Heisman Trophy winner Charlie Ward. When I think of Bobby Bowden, and Paul, I know that's your alma mater. When I think of Bobby Bowden, I think of somebody that made me laugh, somebody that was a hell of a coach, somebody that was the perfect timing for Florida State because they were about to basically just give up on football, 4 wins in like 4 years. But what I also think about Bobby Bowden is in like 82, 81 or 82, they played 5 consecutive road games against teams that were ranked, won 3 of them, lost a couple of them when they had to get their name out because they were trying to say, hey, we can play this game. And that was not just Miami in winning the national title in 83, but the rise of Florida State also led to what we now see as the power that comes out of the Sunshine State.
Yeah, he was not afraid of anybody. And they got, I guess it was in his second year, they went 10-2. And, of course, they didn't have a schedule like they would later on, but he knew that the only way to build them from a kind of a no-name independent into somebody good was anybody, any place, anywhere. And nowadays, you would never agree to 5 road games, the 5 road games that they had. And they won 3 of them. And the fact he knew they were going to lose some. He knew they were going to take some lumps. And he just kept on building and building and building until they were, one of the 2 teams of the 90s, them in Nebraska. I mean, they just dominated 15 straight top 5 finishes, 14 straight in the top 4. 2 national titles that he had. He played in. They played in several others. And I just reading something, and I never even thought about it. And I couldn't believe it. But might have, if there was a 14 playoff back in that run, he might have been able to knock off a couple more because some of those losses were early in the year where you would have gotten into the playoff you would now. So you see what he did for college football, what he did for his players, what he did for the alums and people like me. And I'll be forever grateful for him as a man and him as a coach. And the best memories of my life are those Saturdays in Tallahassee, and it's because of Bobby Bowden.
Bobby Bowden turned Florida State into the most consistent elite winner. There's been a lot of teams. He mentioned Nebraska, Miami. We know their run. Or Penn State, Southern Cal, and others that have had these amazing runs along the way. What Alabama's doing right now. But they were consistently a team that early in the year when they played Miami, that usually was whoever won that game was like back when the 49ers and Cowboys in the early 90s, whoever won that game was going to host the NFC Championship game, and usually that Miami and Florida State game was going to be who eventually went on to play for a national title. We're going to hear it from 2 perspectives. Charlie Ward, who won a Heisman Trophy in 93 and a national title, and then also former Seminoles cornerback Mario Edwards, who's now coaching, senior, who's now coaching up in Plano at John Paul II High School as well. Craig, what do you remember most other than the obvious about Bobby Bowden?
I think I just remember the obvious. I mean, honestly, I didn't get into his history and his personal life and things like that like Paul did. I wasn't a Florida State fan, so I only knew Bobby Bowden from when I'd turn on big games, and I remember him being a part of a lot of big games, and I remember the pageantry of FSU football, throwing the flaming spear down at midfield and just the crowd going crazy and the anticipation for those games with Spurrier in Florida or with the Canes. And, of course, a lot of big bowl games. I look back at them as like a blue blood, not so much now, even though they still are, but they don't matter as much now, like in terms of, relevance and importance. Now, don't get me wrong, Florida State fans, the program still matters, but it's also fair to say that the last few years, basically since Jameis Winston left, they've taken a little bit of a nosedive. And so, when I think of Bowden, I just think of winning. I think of big games. I think of pageantry, like I said. I think of great players and just super stud athletes like Peter Warwick Dunn, those types of guys. And, just great. I mean, I just think of college football, really. I think of the reasons why I like college football. That's what I think of when I, think of a Bowden or an Osborne or a Spurrier or any of those in that same kind of like that 90s lineage of coaches. That was really my bread and butter as a fan. So, yeah, I mean, it brings back good memories for me, even though I probably watched him a couple times and was definitely rooting against him, against Nebraska, for example. But, just an absolute legend. what do you call that type of hat? Like not a cowboy hat, but like the golfer hat. His
big,
whatever that type of a hat is called. Yeah, like I remember him always rocking that.
Sombrero?
No, it's not a sombrero.
Yeah, he had to keep he had a large skin cancer taken off the back of his neck, and he walked out to spring practice with a cap on, and Ann saw a picture of him and said,
"No,
Greg
you're
Norman
getting this
used
to wear, right?
Yeah, exactly. Chichi Rodriguez hat, whatever that's called. He wore that to
bucket
cover.
Hat,
and that's smart too, because that's legit. As much time as he's spending outside, that's not a surprise really. But yeah, I think of a lot of good things when I think of Bobby Bowden.
We will get to as well a couple of notes on watching a little bit, not much, but getting just around Baylor football as they go into what is now officially like the second week since they started on Friday. They have a media session later in the night. We'll talk about the quarterbacks and much more from what we heard from them on Saturday. Now, coming up, we're going to hear from Keontae George, the young man from Louisville, Texas. 5-star, ranked depending on who you talk to, is the number 1 or number 2 player. He's the number 1 or 2 player in Texas, also 1 or 2 player in the country. He's committed to play at Baylor. Keontae George made that decision yesterday. We're going to hear from Charlie Ward, the Heisman Trophy winner. A lot of you on the text line, thank you. Also, the chat room, on YouTube, who are saying things about Bobby Bowden and RIP and all the things you remember about him, among some other college football topics. When we come back, we'll hear from Keontae George. 254-339-1122 is the text line. No calls at this time, maybe around 3:45 or so. And then also we check in on Oregon football at 4:30. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now. The summer savings event over at Richard Carr. They want to put you in a nice vehicle. They want you to feel good about driving cross-country, going visiting the folks, going visiting the kids, whatever you might be up to this summer. I was in a beater for a long time, and it made driving, especially in the summertime here in Texas, absolute hell, quite frankly. Well, I've got a newer ride thanks to great people like Richard Carr, and, man, it's a breeze. It's still hot outside, but it feels good inside my ride. So if you got a little bit of a clunker, a car that's an older model, and you're looking to upgrade, Richard Carr has a lot of great deals. That includes getting the responsive power, advanced technology, and exceptional agility that are all combined into the Cadillac models. They'll bring a smile to your face on every drive at Richard Carr Cadillac. They'll find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan starting at only $33,395, or the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs in the style and size to fit your lifestyle. You can also get back on the road with the space, safety, and luxury of a Buick. Right now, well-qualified buyers get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. And Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, all of them priced to move, and each pre-owned vehicle goes through a 172-point inspection before it hits the lot. With dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. And Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. Give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. So come by and take a test drive, or let them bring the test drive to you. It's a summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr, and Richard Carr is owned and operated and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Make this the summer sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Now arriving and in stock. This beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited. You pick. Have total values of $2,750 or 0% for 48 months, plus $1,000 in bonus cash. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work. And Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, here we go. This 3 o'clock hour for Heisman Trophy quarterback Charlie Ward at the bottom of the hour. Played at Florida State, obviously, for the late Bobby Bowden. We'll hear from him at 3:30. Had a chance to visit a little bit with him back and forth on text messages. We'll have him. We're working on Keontae George from iSchool Entrepreneurial Academy, the guard up in Louisville, who should join us here momentarily. And then also we'll check in on Oregon. And then Mario Edwards Sr., who's now a coach in Plano, he'll join us about Bobby Bowden. From Timothy Vermeer, this is the chat line, just from right here on the top. When Bowden was at West Virginia, he helped Marshall's coaching staff after the 1970 plane crash that killed all 75 on board. In fact, there was a chance. In fact, Marshall wanted him to be the coach. And then he went to Florida State thinking to eventually take over for Bear Bryant at Alabama. So it's interesting how things can work out. And so they were about to play LSU. I'm sure you've heard this, Paul. You've heard all the stories about him. And they wanted him. And I think it was Alabama. Was it Alabama? And they were playing LSU, and he told his wife, if we win, we're staying here because that means we can beat them, and this is where we need to be. If we lose, I'm taking the job. And they beat LSU like 24-19. So imagine what would have happened with some of the twists and turns of what can happen behind the scenes when things are going on. Let's see here. From Nick, if Saban doesn't get 10 wins this season and next season, Bobby Bowden's 14-year streak of 10-plus wins is secure. Absolutely an insane achievement. No question about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's happening, though. I think he's going to get 10 wins over the next 2 years. I would be shocked if he doesn't. When's the last time Bama didn't win 10 games? Mm-hmm. I mean, I really don't know. I'd have to look it up. But, it's been a while, I would think. So, That'd be a cool mark for Bobby Bowden to remain having a hold on, but I think the odds are pretty low with Nick Saban and that Bama program where they are at this point.
Yeah, it would be. It would have to be, and you don't want to see any kind of catastrophe as well. The young man from iSchool Entrepreneurial Academy in Louisville, Texas, 5-star elite player, committed to Baylor, and Scott Drew and his staff yesterday. He joins us, Keontae George, on Sikkim 365 Radio. Keontae, first of all, I know you have to have been hammered with all sorts of requests and people wanting to hear from you, so thank you very much for being a part of our show. What did getting the commitment out of the way and the reaction you got from the coaching staff when you did? Thanks for your time today.
It was a good thing to celebrate, committing to a good school, good coaching staff, good university. So overall, it was good.
When did Baylor pop on your radar? Was it before the national championship or after?
It was definitely before, because they were crewing me before they won, and then they won this year, and then it made it even better.
Keontae, take us through just getting to know Scott Drew, Coach Brooke. That whole coaching staff. Who was the first one that you started to get to know, and then what was that process like? And getting to see those guys outside of their elements and getting to know them on a personal level.
Coach Tang, Coach Brooks. They were one of the first people to come to my games in middle school. Coach Alvin Brooks, he did a good job. Recruiting me. Keeping a great relationship with me. Just making me better as a player and off the court as well. And, just talking to Coach Drew, just finding out how caring he is for people, from top to bottom, how energetic he is, how joyful he is, how much he cares about his recruits. So, just finding them different traits about the coaching staff, just made it easier to commit.
Have you ever met anybody in your life like Scott Drew?
No. Coach Drew, is one of a kind. You'll never see Coach Drew down. He's always energetic, joyful, like I said, keeps a smile on his face.
How much has the last couple years of them changing their style made them much more attractive to players like you, guards, who before they were kind of ran everything through the big men. Now they're a very guard-oriented offense.
I'm definitely seeing how they played this year, especially making all the way to the national championship, how they let their guards go. Just had a lot of Davion missing, so just to see how he was able to play, I can go in there and be me and play the same way I'm playing right now.
Keontae, how hard was it because so many teams wanted you, so many coaches have talked to you over this time period, and in basketball, you guys get recruited for, from a pretty young age on. So what was it like to finally come to an actual decision, and how difficult was that ultimately to just have to pick one and then tell a bunch of people you've been getting to know over the last few years that you're going to go somewhere else?
It was definitely a hard decision. I had top 5 all grade 5 schools, but I'm just glad that I was able to figure out where I wanted to be at, a different play style, come to one decision, and then it was just hard telling them that I wasn't gonna commit to their school, but they still gonna cheer on for me. They gonna still still have the same love for me. No hard feelings between none of the coaching staff. Still gonna watch me, watch me grow as a player, as a person. So really, when I was able to come to finalization, it wasn't hard to figure out where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be.
When you play the game the way you do, it looks effortless, and it also looks like it's easy on you. I know that maybe it is, but it's not like that to get to where you are today. How much hard work, and when did you realize that perhaps you could play at an extremely high elite level?
I think it was in 8th grade. I was with Coach Shelby. He told me that I could do something special, told me I could be a pro, but everybody can say you can be a pro, but you still got to work for it. Putting in 2 days. Sometimes 3 workouts a day. Just putting my head down the grind. Just blocking out distractions. Just finding out what my main goal was at the end of the day. And then when I was able to figure out my main goal, it made it way easier for me to keep my head down and grind and just work on everything and perfect my craft.
Is there anybody that you model your game after, or not necessarily that? You have your own game, but that you model your work ethic after, or drills or things you pick up from people?
Definitely try to model my game after Brad Beal, a little bit of D'Angelo Russell, and I just like to say Russell Westbrook, his dog mentality, how hard he plays. So those are three people I talk about my game after.
Keontae, when do you first remember, picking up a basketball, shooting on like a little Tykes hoop or even dribbling it around, and who was responsible for that? Because obviously it's played a huge role in your life, and look where it's taken you now, to Baylor to play basketball on full scholarship. Where did that love of the game start?
I grew up in a basketball family. So, right out the womb, I had a basketball in my hand. But, 4 or 5 years old, running around the house shooting on a little goal. My mom put the ball in my hands. My dad played basketball. I just, everybody around me just loved the game of basketball. So it was easy for me to, find a love for the game.
What your coach told Ashley Hodge, who writes for our website, the website Sikkim365.com, that Keontae George is one of the most coachable superstars he's ever seen. What does that mean to you that your coach feels that way? And I'm sure then it also rubs off on what your teammates see.
This is great, to have a coach know that I'm coachable, because I've always tried to stay humble. I'm not above anyone. So, I can take criticism, listen to my coach. If he's coaching me hard, I'm able to, adjust to him. And then when my teammates see that I'm doing that, then it makes it easier for the whole team, to come together as one and just listen. And it would be a better team overall.
What about your game? As good as you are, what do you feel like you can even do better, or what maybe you need to do better?
Me personally, I just think I can improve on the defensive end of the ball. Just becoming more of a dog, sitting down the stands. Getting the intangibles, rebounding. There's different stuff like that. Just becoming more of a shot maker. Getting my shot more perfected. I can make shots, but nobody wants to miss. I'm just trying to perfect that. But get into my spots more, get in the mid-range game. So that's really what I'm trying to perfect and work on the most.
When you are at the level you are, I would think there are times when you're playing that you make it look so effortless that some may not think that you have that motor that runs all the time. I've seen some people say that you're so good that sometimes they wonder where the pulse is, but that's inside your heart and soul. Can you kind of explain that in a way?
I like to, have fun, smile on the court, but with my game, I like to play with pace. I don't like to play fast pace all the time, go downhill fast. But, I'm able to change pace to where I can go downhill fast. Then I'm able to slow down, read the defense, and then get to my spot. So, I don't like to play at the same pace so the defense doesn't know I am. I like to keep the defense second-guessing themselves when they're guarding me. So that's really how I like to explain it.
Keontae, you're obviously a big-time commit for Baylor men's basketball. I mean, they've had a few of those, but they were definitely celebrating. What was the phone call like, or however you ended up messaging? Who'd you message, and what was the reaction like when you told them that you were going to pull the trigger and commit to Baylor?
So I got on the Zoom in the morning, and I just told, I had Coach Young, Coach New, Coach Terry, Coach Alvin Brooks. I had those guys on there, and I just told them that I just appreciate them for everything they've done. Appreciate the recruiting they did, how hard they recruited me, how hard they loved doing me, and I just let them know that I like to come with Baylor Bear, and they were all excited. They was jumping for joy. So just to see the staff that excited for me to commit, I just know that I chose the right school.
How excited were you?
I mean, I was really excited. It's close to home. It's a blessing to be close to home, close to my mom. Playing in front of a fan base like that, come off national championship that they had. So, I was just really excited to become a Baylor Bear.
You mentioned they had been recruiting you for a while, and then they won the national title. That made it much better. How much did that impact your decision that they are the reigning national champions?
It didn't really have an effect on me, just because, anywhere that I had in my top five, they were all winning programs. But to see, the play style that they play in, that was the main factor. And they see that they can play the style that I want to play. And they was able to, win games, and get to the ultimate goal, the NCAA championship. Just looking at that, it can, help me and my teammates stock, make it to the next level.
No question about it. Ashley Hodge, who's our basketball wizard, wants to know, do you know what your wingspan is? This is a question he asks no matter what. What is your wingspan? Do you know?
My wingspan is 6'6".
What's that?
6'6".
6'6"?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I have that recorded. I can keep my job because he told me I had to ask that question. Now, you're friends with Anthony Black, and there's lineage with the Black family at Baylor. His father played at Baylor. Have you been working on him a little bit? I know it's his own life, his own decision, but have you worked on him just a little bit?
He just seemed to commit. So, he asked me a couple questions. It's always good to play with your best friend. But at the end of the day, being the best friend I am, I want him to pick a school where he can, be the best version of him. I want him to make it to the next level as well. So, if Baylor's a school that can help him get to the next level and then let him reach his ultimate goals, then it would be even better.
You're a good friend, dude. That's exactly how friends should
exactly
operate.
Right.
That's very unselfish, and keep that mentality seriously.
Final thing, Keontae, I know you probably got to go do something, and we appreciate your time. What does this mean to you, and how would you describe who Baylor fans are going to watch play basketball?
Just going through this, it's a blessing to ever even, commit to a Division I school, and everybody gets a chance to do that, and if I had to take another path, I would. But, just being able to commit to Baylor, they're just going to see, a player that's going to work hard each and every day, win basketball games for them, share the ball, get teammates involved. It's a big overall player on the court.
Thank you, son. Young man, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Congratulations on your decision. Congratulations on in the upcoming season as well. We appreciate it. Can't wait to cover you.
Thanks for having me on, too.
You too. That's Keontae George, high school entrepreneurial academy guard out of Louisville, Texas, who made the big commitment to Baylor. When we come back, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Charlie Ward on the late and one of his, of course, a huge part of his life, Bobby Bowden. Charlie Ward is next. Waco Custom Marketplace. I just got the new specials of what they have coming up this week, and I did have myself a huge, thick bacon-wrapped filet steak over the weekend. I couldn't wait to get it on the grill. It's so delicious. I get all of my steaks at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace with Brian Bauer, who's the owner, along with the Bauer family, with what they do, a butcher shop and a bakery. Bakery every day, fresh baked bread and kolaches, and every day that butcher shop, whether it's pork, poultry, seafood, or beef, it's constantly trying to get what you want exactly to grill, put in the oven, or whatever you might be eating. It's a great place as well for the upcoming football season. If you need tailgate product, that is the go-to place at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. And yes, they have constant opportunities for you to get the best in beef, whether it's sirloin or choice, whatever you need, whether it's ribeye or even the fillets. It's Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Seminoles, good snap from Shiver. Charlie has all kinds of time. Flush out of the pocket, goes to his right, looks downfield, throws the ball downfield, has Brett Fryer. Fryer at the 40, Fryer at the 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Florida Scout.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
All right, here we go, this 3 o'clock hour. It is our pleasure to be joined by the 1993 Heisman Trophy winning national championship quarterback, legend, of course, at Florida State, played in the NBA. Charlie Ward has become a friend of the show's, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Charlie, thanks for your time, obviously under circumstances that obviously we'd love to see would be better. But my goodness, you see the outpouring of support and the stories about your coach in Bobby Bowden. What did he mean to you?
Well, I mean, when you've heard one story, you heard them all. You know, regardless of what situation you were in, a background, whenever you were touched by him, he had pretty much the same results from everyone. So, you know, he was just a man that cared about people. He was genuine, and his relationship with the Lord played a big part in how he treated people, because he had accountability to his Heavenly Father to live up to the things that he promised. Of course, he wasn't perfect, but he worked to try to do his best to make an impact on all of us by sharing his faith, but also living it. That was a big part in why he was successful in my eyes.
Was he the perfect coach for your personality? I know you're a man who's also very, and always has been, deeply driven by your faith. He was deeply driven by his faith, as he said, and it just seems like you guys were nearly a perfect match.
Well, not just him. It was just the people he surrounded himself with as well. You know, I had great coaches. Coach John Eason, who helped recruit me. Coach Wayne McDuffie. Coach Mark Rick was my quarterback coach. Coach Brad Scott. I mean, all those guys, you know, were very similar in their faith and the way they lived their lives. And so it wasn't just Coach Bowden. It was just the way he also, the people he surrounded himself with to be able to help, live on what he was passing on to them. And so that's another thing that, he did well. He allowed his coaches to coach. He coached the coaches, and he got the most out of, his team, because he didn't try to micromanage those guys, but he gave them jobs and asked them to do it, and definitely helped them if they needed some assistance. But, that was just the way he ran his program, and I was grateful that, he surrounded himself with similar type men.
Charlie, what do you remember about the first time crossing paths with Bobby Bowden?
Well, I was in shock, all factor, because I had been watching him for quite some time as a youngster on the Bobby Bowden show, and watching each highlight each and every Sunday morning after games, and also watching the games that they played on the road. At the time, I wasn't really saying that I was going to Florida State or any of those things. I was just watching as a casual fan. But when the opportunity came to meet him, it was like having a celebrity walk into your high school campus, and then into your home. And but I wasn't too awestruck, meaning on the celebrity part, but just to be able to meet him was great.
Did you know even then that you would go to Florida State?
As a kid?
Yeah, like when you had a chance, when he started to recruit you, when did you know you were going to end up at Florida State?
Well, it really wasn't until the end, but they had a good chance because he had allowed Brad Johnson to play basketball, and that was something that I wanted to do. And so, and plus he was a Christian, and all those things started adding up, and being close to home where family and friends could come and still support me in Tallahassee. I grew up going to FAMU games with my father and mother, and so Tallahassee was not too far. But when it came down to it, Coach Bowden allowed Brad Johnson to play multiple sports. Specifically, basketball was one of the determining factors for sure.
That 93 team was the first one that he won a national title with, and he would go on to win one more. But was there something special about your group, Charlie, in that? Because you were the group that finally allowed him to realize the dream at FSU of making the Seminoles national champs?
I wouldn't say we were a special group. I think there was a lot of teams before us that had this, was in the same boat that we were in, but they just didn't get the opportunity to play for a national championship in the bowl game. There was a time where we won 10 straight bowl games. It might have been 14, but I think maybe at the time, during my time, it may have been 10 or so. But, none of those teams outside of us at the time, before we won our first championship, had ever had an opportunity to play for a national championship. And so we knew that if we could get in that game, we could have a good chance of winning it. And we proved that to be true.
I received, Tracy sent me, your publicist sent me a picture of you and Coach Bowden at the 25th anniversary of your Heisman Trophy. What did that mean, that moment? Obviously, many things in his life and your life, the two of you shared, but what was that like, that time when you guys had that opportunity to sit down and talk again?
Well, we had numerous times to sit down and talk. With me being here in Tallahassee, we did quite a few appearances together. I actually got a chance to ride on a private plane with him to a speaking engagement. And so, we had a lot of time to talk, but the 25th year, the Heisman, winning the Heisman, he was always, I'm glad he was there to be able to witness it. 25 years later, he was there when I won it. And so I was just, grateful that he was able to be there, be present, and also, he was sharp. as he was even within these past couple of weeks before he passed. He had long conversations with coaches, with players, and so he was still sharp until the end.
Charlie, you coach now and have been coaching for a little bit. How much of Coach Bowden is interwoven into your coaching style?
Well, there are a lot of coaches. I had a lot of great coaches. Start with my my dad. I had a middle school coach, and Coach Bowden and Coach Rick and Coach Eason, as I mentioned, and then a lot of my professional coaches. But Coach Bowden, one of the things that I've instilled in all of my staff is, cursing. That was one of the things that he talked to his coaching staff about, because, he didn't want it to set a precedent for the kids to be cursing. And so he kept it to a minimum, which was commendable. And, I mean, people say, well, what's wrong with cursing? Well, it's just a standard that he wanted to set, and discipline as well, because it just didn't go with what he wanted to present as a culture, because there's kids that practice and all those different types of things, and he just wanted to make sure that everyone could come as a family and watch practice if they wanted to with little kids. So, that was just something that he always instilled in us, faith, family, football, and that was part of it. So that's something that I work to try to do with my basketball program is, love on kids, have a family atmosphere, and do the best we can and live with the results.
Charlie, you mentioned family there. You are going to speak at the funeral. Warwick Dunn, Deion Sanders, Mark Richt, amongst others. But you have a family tie there as well. Your daughter's going to be performing at the funeral. Is that correct?
Yes. My daughter will be performing. She's a violist, and so she'll be performing at the funeral. And so she's excited about that. And, of course, she didn't know that she was going to be performing in front of a packed house, but it's all good.
Well, she could learn from what, and I'm sure that you did that all the time when you played your football games. There's a picture, you can't see it, Charlie, but I know you remember this picture. This is a picture that Tracy sent to me. This is Charlie Ward and also Coach Bowden at the Marriott Marquis in New York. This is the morning after the gala to celebrate your 25th Heisman anniversary as well. Can you try to explain what he was like? There was Bobby Bowden at practice, or Bobby Bowden pregame or halftime or postgame. Was he the same person throughout all of that, or was there any time when you saw him even more intense?
No, he was the same. He didn't change. He was very, as I mentioned, he's charismatic. He was honest. You ask him something and he'll say, hey, either I didn't know or don't know, or he'll give you a good story, analogy to tell his story or his point, make a point. That was just who he was. And that was why he was a great speaker, and everyone wanted to hear him, because he told great stories and had great analogies. But all those things, carried over. His personality was the same on the field and off.
He could cut the tension in a room, couldn't he?
Yes, he could. He definitely knows how to work a room, and so that was just who he was. You just have to love him and adore him for who he is.
How much has your phone been blowing up in the last 24 hours with former players and those you knew that knew him and shared memories with him and about him?
Well, I've talked to a couple, but more so text messages. We have a former players text message chain that we use, and so it's been more so just talking, sharing our story with media outlets, has been the biggest ringing off the hook or asking to be a part of, which I'm grateful for.
One of the things, and today, and Charlie, I'm class of 02 at FSU, so I lived it as a student, and he made the Saturdays so much fun for everybody, and it was because of what you guys were building and did that made so many people's college experience great. But just going back and watching halftime or post-game interviews, there was no subterfuge in Bobby Bowden. I mean, he was not going to say, like, well, I don't really know. If we play Florida State football, we're going to be good. If somebody asked him what was going wrong, he would tell them exactly what was going wrong and exactly how he was going to fix it. And most of the time it worked out, and that's just not seen that much anymore, is it?
Sure. There's a lot of coach speak, as we call it. And but he was definitely transparent, as you could tell by the punt Ruski and, demonstration. And all of his interviews were very similar. He'll let you in on I wouldn't say the secrets, but he'll let you in on a lot of things, which that's the reason why a lot of people wanted to interview him or ask him questions, because he'll let them know.
Charlie, I would think this is impossible, but is there one Bobby Bowden story that you've shared the most recently, or is there one that you would share with us that is maybe one of your favorites?
Well, the one that I normally share that's pretty interesting is, my junior year, it was my first year playing quarterback, and I had no experience coming in. So I had to gain some experience, and while I was gaining experience, I was throwing the ball to the other team. And so the first game we played Duke, I had 4 interceptions, and then the second game I started out with like 2 interceptions, and then I think I threw a third one. I ended up with 4 in that game, but after the third one, he came over and was talking to me, and he was like, "Hey, Tyler, we're wearing white tonight." So he proceeded to sit me on the bench. He brought in Danny Cannell in relief to give me some time to see what was going on and settle down, and I was grateful they gave me another opportunity to go out and help win the game. So, but that was a moment that you got to have tough skin, and even though it was a tough situation, I appreciate that challenge.
The teams you played, the games you played, the moments you were a part of, and obviously Bobby Bowden along the way as the legendary head coach at Florida State. Charlie, thank you very much. Good luck this week with everything, and also at the funeral for him, and we appreciate you helping reminisce about the legend of Bobby Bowden.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Heisman Trophy quarterback Charlie Ward. That year before they won it all in '92, that Duke game was 48-21. They lost to Miami by 3, and then ran the table. Ended up ranked number 2 in the country. The next year, they ended up running the table and beat Nebraska in the Orange Bowl in a famous game that won the national title. And even then, they had to delay to make sure they thought they won it. And then there was the knee was down, and they had a chance to kick a field goal, missed it left for once. Florida State was on the right side of a missed field goal.
Yeah, look, I'll say this. Thank God that instant replay hadn't been figured out in college football in 1993, but I don't know how that would have gone.
I went back, and you and I we have fun with this. The William Floyd 4th down, but there was also a play at the goal line where the ball squirted loose before he crossed the goal line, but, the arms go up. That was it. But I'm glad. I was happy for Bobby Bowden, as much as that was gut-wrenching for me as a lifelong Nebraska fan. They got theirs over the next 3 years. They got a couple of theirs, or 3 of theirs, in fact, in that run with Osborne. Hope you enjoyed listening to the Heisman Trophy winner and Charlie Ward about Bobby Bowden and his legacy. Right, what do you want to do here, Paul?
We got just a couple minutes.
A couple of minutes here. We'll hear from Oregon football writer Ryan Thorburn. He'll join us today at 4:30 on them. Craig, a couple of notes. You brought up Xavier Howard the other day. He was holding out, or he wanted a new contract, whatever you want to say. He got a new one. He got a new contract. Base salary, $12.78 million, fully guaranteed. Maximum $3.5 million in incentives were added to that. So he restructured his contract. He also, the Dolphins, this is what's always funny. You fine guys, right? They also agreed to rescind the $93,000 in fines. I think most of the players and agents know most likely that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So he skipped the mandatory mini camp during the offseason or whatever.
So people can say what they want to about him speaking out, but it looks like it worked for him, didn't it?
Absolutely did.
It looks like he made the wise move in saying what he said when he said it. And I don't always agree with NFL players who sign a contract and a year later they're chirping about it. I mean, you have to know when you sign a contract that the next guy who's at your position who's equally as good, if not better, is going to get a larger contract. That's just the evolution of contracts. But, in X's case, I mean, he made some points, obviously, because if he didn't have any leg to stand on, then they wouldn't be restructuring his contract right now. But they obviously are a week later. So he had a point, and he proved it, and now he's getting what he wanted.
Well, and I'll say this, this is probably not so much about like Jalen Ramsey's contract or whoever the big quarterback is outside the Dolphins. This is probably more about Byron Jones and nothing to do about Byron Jones. I'm sure X is happy to have him there, but Byron Jones got paid a ton of money to come and play for the Dolphins, and then in the year after that, X leads the league in interceptions, so he's outplayed the contract, especially based on the standard that the Dolphins set with the money they gave to Byron Jones.
Yeah, no question about it. So he gets what he needed, and also the penalties or fines, whatever you want to call it, waived as well. Nick Barnett, I got to tell you, I appreciated the question, but I didn't ask it for this reason. He said, would you ask him about, was he aware or surprised that Florida State continued that run from 86 to 01, whatever it was, when they had that incredible stretch? Well, they were already in the midst of that when Charlie Ward won the national title. They had been knocking on the door, as we know. That's what made the 93 national championship game so amazing, is you had two coaches who were as elite at high level as you could possibly imagine, who had close opportunities, close last-second heartbreaking losses over career with Bowden and Osborne. Bowden wins in 93. Osborne then wins in 94, 95, 97. And then Bowden comes back to win it again in 99. It kind of like opened up the floodgates for both of them.
It's also interesting how much Miami influence was a thorn in both those coaches' sides. In Nebraska and in Tom Osborne and Bobby Bowden, especially Bobby Bowden. Nebraska didn't have to worry about Miami unless they schedule them in non-conference early in the year. Until the end of the year, Bobby had to deal with Miami every year.
Yeah.
And that 93 game when they beat Miami, just the relief on it, like it was relief. I watched the post-game press conference where he was, it was, or the interview after the game with, I think it was Jack Arute, and he was just so relieved.
Oh, I can imagine. By the way, from Timothy, how important is Bobby Bowden in the state of Florida? He will lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda at the state capitol in Tallahassee Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Think about that.
Yeah,
that's the kind of reputation, the kind of player, coach that he was, and how many people want to go by and give him their last respects. All right, when we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, we'll get back to the chat room, also the text line, and we'll take calls at 4 o'clock, 254-339-1122, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com is one of our newest partners here. And look, right now, if you sign up with a $100 account on BetUS.com, you're getting a 125% bonus by using Sikkim 125 is your promo code. That's Sikkim 125. Why BetUS? They've been serving clients for 25 plus years, and they pride themselves on being known as America's favorite sports book. And with action on every sport across the world, they can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game. And BetUS offers the industry's bigger retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer. And the BetUS loyalty program is legendary. They keep their players up to date with the latest articles, players, and team stats and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions. So go to BetUS.com today. Use promo code Sikkim125. That's Sikkim125 for a 125% bonus on your deposit.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does horses too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Williams in motion. They'll roll. Daniels out. Down he goes behind the 20. Terrell Bernard with a sack. And number 2 flexes for the camera.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, this 4 o'clock hour, Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports on YouTube. For those of you in the chat, thank you for watching and or listening. Those on the text line and phone calls right now in the 4 o'clock hour, 254-339-1122. As you can see now, things are starting to get a little more quiet when it comes to the college football landscape. Doesn't mean it's still not out there. Doesn't mean it's not a part of your pulse or your everyday. Max Olson wrote a really good article today on theathletic.com about the Big 12 and the Pac-12, kind of what he could try to get out of the commissioners' meeting. some of it preliminary, some of it exploratory, some of it just getting to know each other, and just a couple of different scenarios, but kind of getting whatever he could from what went on within the Big 12 and the Pac-12 when they had their little powwow last week. And now you have games coming up. And I can't wait to get to talk about games, right? Wins and losses, matchups, previews, and all that. But my goodness, there's been so much discussion about the landscape. And this is from Big Blue Attack. North Dakota State to the Big 12 and 25, please, so we can show how we play football in the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
Well, better hope that a whole lot of people who've been moving to Texas from California divert to North Dakota because, again, this all comes down to dollars and TV, and that's it. I mean, we can try and talk about the geography and the beautiful campuses and the, fantastic alumni and great traditions. I mean, we could talk about all the minutia that is actually why most people are college football fans, but is not why any of these decisions are being made. These decisions are being made by people who don't care about, the Mountaineer mascot. They don't care about West Virginia's travel. They don't care about Baylor, TCU's feelings. They don't care about any of that. They care about getting the teams that are going to bring the most eyeballs and the most money to TV screens. And unfortunately for North Dakota State, they are not one of those teams that's going to be mentioned probably in the first 75 schools off the top of someone's head. I'd love to see them get a crack because I do think there are programs that are being held down and that if you did give them a little bit of leeway, that you might be surprised by what they could do with it. If you actually put them on a more even recruiting plane, for example. But now what we're seeing is the schools like North Dakota State or those along those same lines, they're already kind of were tier 2.5, and now they're fully tier 3 because there's this separation of the SEC and the whoever else you want to place in there with them. I guess the other Power 5s that are intact at the moment. But then there is this now tier 2 that could very well be some of those former Power 5s who are still technically Power 5s. And then you'd have to go down another level to get to those schools. So, I mean, I would love to see it because I'm not against wide representation, and I'm not against schools participating who don't have 7 national titles or 3 Heismans as a minimum, But as far as the people making those decisions, it's not us. It's the business people, and they don't care. I mean, they don't care about anything but the dollars and the cents.
Well, and if you think about it, if you take the dollars and cents out of it and you're just talking about football and growing your program, what else can North Dakota State do? I mean, what else can they do to show that, you know what, it works here?
Let me tell you this. If I have a team that I like, I don't care if it's a blue blood or not, I don't want them on my non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
I don't. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't lose a lot of those games, but they've also been able to take on some of that might be end up tier 2, whoever that might be. If for example, if Alabama called, Alabama will beat North Dakota State. But I don't think that's just an immediate yes. I'm not saying Alabama would dodge North Dakota State, only when they played the game at home. They played in Tuscaloosa. But there are some teams that won't return that phone call. We had the North Dakota State, was it the president or the AD on the show a few years back, and asked him, do you get your phone calls always returned or returned all the time? No.
Well, especially after they beat Kansas State.
Yeah.
I mean, once they beat Kansas State, it's like, well, I don't know if – I mean, part of that is just – does it make good sense to pay somebody $750,000 to $1 million to come down to your town and beat you? No.
And that's happening, I don't know about more and more. It's just a lot easier now to, these things are so much more, the game. We saw the score. We always know the scores. But when you see teams go into some of these, for example, remember Army. Army's not Power 5, and they went into Norman 2 or 3 years ago and scared the hell out of them. But Army's a solid football team. Now, could they play Oklahoma and then the next week play Auburn and the next week play Michigan? No. But those are the kind of games that I hope don't disappear with what we now see could be the future of college football.
Well, and they probably will if it goes the direction that some people think it's going to go, because where are your non-conference games? Where are they going to be? I mean, are you going to have a 14-team SEC? Or no, was it going to be 16-team SEC,
yeah, 16
right?
16 teams.
You're going to have a 16-team SEC and still only play 9 non-conference games? That doesn't make that much sense to me. Why would you – I mean, I think the whole point would be to have a couple of other, if you want to make it this big time thing, then I don't think you still have Tennessee Tech in week 14. You know what I mean? Like they do or maybe they keep that. And if they keep that, then that's great news for those smaller schools. But that also would then mean as SEC fans, much like A&M still hasn't gone to Georgia, even though they're coming up on a decade of being in the conference, you wouldn't see teams potentially for like 15 years on, in the home and away if they keep it intact. So I can't imagine that adding a couple schools of that caliber is just to keep things the exact same way that they have been. I would think you'd want Oklahoma and Texas, and you take away at least one of those non-conference games to have more of those matchups. I mean, that's the point in having them, not for them to go out and play Air Force, or teams like that 3 different times. So, yeah, I'm curious. And yeah, if you have a limited amount of non-conference games, I don't think many teams are lining up to play North Dakota State or Army. They're going to play the teams that are going to be the easy wins. But in this current scenario, you kind of have to have that game that's a little bit of a test just for the reputation of your non-conference schedule, and also you want to be tested a little bit, although not, obviously pushed all the way.
And if you have 8 teams on either side, and this is just, we don't know what the SEC is going to do with their scheduling, but if you have 8 teams on either side, that means you have 7 games against your division.
Right.
And then, they've been doing 2, cross-conference games in the SEC because now it's 6.
So if they play 9, they have 3 non-conference games.
Yeah.
Right now they have 4, right?
Yeah. But you could... you would theoretically, again, like Craig said, if you're adding teams to the SEC, then wouldn't you want to play at least one more SEC crossover game?
I would think so. I would think the 9-game conference schedule is almost like a necessity. It also gives you much more data on,
It would be a 10-game conference schedule because you're talking about 7 games. They're already playing 2 right now.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to go to a 10-game schedule.
So, but I mean, if I'm ESPN, though, this is about network ratings.
But if you play a 10-game schedule, you're going to lose, not every year, but you will lose a home game. You can pay somebody $500,000 to $1 million to come to your place and fill up a 75 to 110,000 seat stadium. So that's why you wonder if they go an extra game. Because the extra game would take out a guaranteed home game, right? Mm-hmm. Where you pay Buffalo or whoever it might be to come in who you're going to beat. Although there's a team playing Buffalo this year that if they're not careful, they may not beat them at home. That's why I don't think you're going to see the SEC go to 10. I'd love it. I think that'd be great. You get a better cross-section of who is the better teams. And then at the end of the year, if you're going to have 3, 4, 5 SEC teams, if it ever goes to 16 or 12 playoff teams, then you have even more of a cross-section of people who played each other. 254-339-1122. Here's from Miles. And North Dakota State wants Bama. Appalachian State's an example. Yep, they were when they went and beat Michigan. Not only beat Michigan, beat them in the big house.
I still remember where I was when I was at my aunt and uncle's house in Plano, and I remember my Uncle Jim turning on the TV just for college football Saturday, and I was like, oh, it's the first weekend of the year, and App State, Michigan, this is going to be a very good game. And, man, if I didn't watch the next 2 hours and watch that epic upset and just drink that in, and that is a fun college football memory. That's why I'm a fan. But, the App State, Michigans or the Army, Oklahomas or, any other matchups that are like that, what happens to those? I mean, do they get completely thrown to the wayside? And then what's the domino effect of not having that $300,000 check to come get your head kicked in Tuscaloosa, a couple times? Those programs rely on that money. So I can't see the elimination of the non-conference games entirely. Maybe if they expanded the league to like 20 teams, then what would be the point in having a non-conference? You just be your own. You might as well just be your own little NFL league, which is what some people think the end game is. But that's a trickle-down effect that I'm sure some people have thought of, but not everybody realizes is the more crowded those super conferences become or get or whatever, the less room for the little guys, the less money for the little guys, the less money to operate their programs for the little guys. And that's one of the dangers, I think, that maybe isn't being thought about, because why would it be thought about? Nobody thinks about the little guys in these situations. They're all worried about the ones that are going to come out on top in the end. And
if an administrator said, when asked about the remaining 8 teams in the Big 12, and he said, well, frankly, we don't really care.
Yeah.
We don't give a damn. Then they don't care. And again, that's a quote, but then they're not sure. They're worried about the non-Power 5 teams below, even if they don't give a damn about 8 that are Power 5. Here's from Robert. I know we got a call, 254-339-1122. The SEC will go to a 9-game schedule to keep 2 cupcakes plus a Power 5 opponent. Think about this, and Robert, thanks for the chat. Some are permanent rivals, like Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so if you go, you're not going to go to 10. That would leave them 2 games. And that's a long-time rivalry. Although one of the things we've seen in realignment, we've seen a long-standing rivalries go straight to dead.
The SEC, though, has defended their rivalries, though,
no,
across the conference.
They have.
Like, as opposed to the Big 12, which just thought, logistically couldn't do the math in 1996 and said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the best rivalry we had in this league, for 50 years, and we're going to play that 2 times every 6 years.
We don't want to see Nebraska-Oklahoma every year, but we're damn sure going to get Nebraska-Kansas every year. Yeah, that makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
And Kansas wasn't even like, I'm not even using them as like the butt of a joke or anything, but even in their best years, I still would rather watch Oklahoma and Nebraska than watch Nebraska and Kansas. But yeah, the Big 12 never has been known for its forward thinking, and that's why they're in the spot that they're in currently. But it does open up in thinking about the SEC schedule, there is absolutely no reason for Bedlam to not happen anymore. And I wonder who Texas's, big non-con opponent would be as far as if they were to establish a rivalry. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State makes sense, just like Georgia Tech makes sense, or Florida, Miami, or whichever, any other examples that you want to use. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see if Texas just did like a rotation of just big name teams, maybe former Big 12 teams, somebody out of the Pac-12, I don't know, or if they have, but all their rivals basically are in the SEC at this point. A&M, Arkansas, Arkansas is not even really, that's more for like the older folks, quite frankly. That's been pretty irrelevant most of my life, but still, it's a rival that's built in. And Oklahoma obviously coming along as well, so that'd be interesting to see.
Vista Tiger games like Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson, Florida State will continue. I don't see them going away. And also Mike Games, just chat greetings from the middle of Lake Erie.
Oh, nice.
Good to have you on. 254-339-1122 on the BetUS caller line. We hope to hear from you.
Cecil in Tampa, thanks for your call. You're on Sikkim 365 Radio on the BetUS caller line.
Yeah, love your show, guys, to start with, but wouldn't it be nice to see a little baseball and football and have the SEC East, the SEC West, and the SEC North with all the teams that are going to come in, put them in the North and let them play to see who is the best, to see who wins the right to be the champ in the SEC.
Well, I think one of the things we've seen is pods, so it wouldn't really necessarily be, it would be 14 pods, and then you'd match up across it.
There might be 14.
There might be, yes, there might be. So that's one of the things, and yeah, Cecil, thanks for your call. I think that might be the easiest way, especially to avoid what the SEC's problem now is that, they have like the permanent cross-conference rival. Well, for the new schools, Missouri and A&M. A&M got South Carolina, and you can try to pump all the juice you can into that game, but those two teams have nothing. There's nothing there yet. So if you go into pods and 14 pods, then you'll get to see a whole lot more of Oklahoma playing Georgia, and then Texas getting to play Florida and in Tennessee or stuff like that. So
the crossover, one of them for Alabama, it's a long-time rivalry is Tennessee. Now, for a long time, that was a hell of a game, right? Tennessee's been down. LSU gets Florida. And sometimes those crossover games are cyclical. Now, even if they're the blue bloods or whatever, they can be cyclical. And there can be where the schedule can kind of like tilt.
Well, and look, if you're LSU and A&M, so you're obviously playing for second for Alabama most every year. LSU more so than A&M is. But say you're on a good year and maybe Alabama's down and you have that game that tilts and you're across conferences, the team that might win the East in Florida, and A&M's got South Carolina, which hasn't scored a touchdown on purpose in 4 years. So, you're probably LSU going, well, what the hell, man? Let's move this around a little bit more.
Yeah, if you're in the East and you get Alabama as your crossover game, or you get LSU as your crossover game, and somebody else you're competing to win the title is getting, with all due respect, I know on occasion, Mississippi State or Arkansas or something like that, and that's permanent, or it's a long extending cycle, that can be a little bit on the edge. By the way, Glenn said, hey, Watch out for the old man jokes.
No.
Oh, was that Paul?
Yes,
or you talking
that
about
was me
Arkansas?
talking about Arkansas and Texas. But, I mean, yeah, I thought about that when I actually said that. I was like, somebody's going to comment on that. But no, it's true though. I mean, that rivalry, it's talked about like it's been relevant, and it hasn't been relevant. I mean, I've seen them play each other non-conference a few times, but like the only people I hear get excited about it are people who grew up watching the Southwest Conference.
And Richard Nixon went there to that game one time. So that's what you think about historically with Texas and Arkansas is that.
But I do think there's going to be some gas. Yeah, there's going to be some gas now on there. I think the fact that they're going to be fighting for the same scraps, and there's now 16 teams they're going to be fighting for those scraps, and we know Bama's going to take a big chunk, and we know a couple others are going to take big chunks. But Texas and Arkansas are going to be back, right there fighting for the same things once again, and that'll definitely pour some gas on that rivalry.
Even the greatness of Alabama, they weren't always as good under what we know from Bear Bryant, or even the year they won it all with Gene Stallings, or, of course, where they are with Nick Saban. They've had a couple of hickeys in those non-conference gimme games. Mm-hmm. In fact, here's one from Pro Player 2000. Louisiana Monroe embarrassed Alabama in 2007 at Bryant-Denny. Didn't Troy... They might have beaten my favorite team, Nebraska. I know Northern Illinois went into Lincoln one time. Mm-hmm. Those gimme games, sometimes if you drop a little bit, and we've seen some powerhouses that have done so. From football, super conferences will build because they can't sustain otherwise. Athletic departments are going broke, universities are going broke, and ESPN is going broke.
Yeah, ESPN does have that Disney backing, so they're going to be fine probably ultimately, but I do wonder how much their business and it's the impact of the last couple of years is making them maybe, rethink how college football should operate in their minds. And that seems very clear based on the clear motives of grabbing Oklahoma and Texas and helping ease their way into the conference that ESPN happens to have an immense amount of investment in. I don't think that's any coincidence, but I think college football has to be concerned. They've got to be careful here because the North Dakota states matter. The smaller schools do matter. I know they're not the ones that bring the big ratings, and the ratings are all that the big networks care about, but go ahead, screw around, piss off 3/4 of the college football fan base, because that's what you're doing. You're not, I get that you're grabbing the most popular teams and all that. And so, okay, well, who cares if like ULM or Baylor or Louisiana Lafayette, who cares if they're not a part of the party? Well, you'll care when those people stop caring to watch the games, and all of a sudden those big ratings you're getting are not those big ratings anymore because people don't care anymore.
Yeah, it becomes an elitist type.
Yes, exactly.
You know what's funny to me about ESPN is they have this right now. They can't figure out why their ratings are not as steady as they used to be. And it's because the people who grew up watching their channel, it's a different channel now.
I think one of their biggest problems is they don't know what they want to be anymore.
No, I mean,
they 2 years ago wanted to be big social justice network and show the athlete side of things, and that rubbed some people the wrong way. It also made other people happy. Then they completely reversed course on that because they were getting so much flack for it. And they're like, no, just pretend that didn't happen. We're just regular ESPN again. And people are like, no, we know exactly who you still are. You fools are not fooling anybody. And so I just think they've had an identity crisis based on their change in management over the last 5 to 10 years, and they still don't really know what they're supposed to be anymore, I don't think.
Well, I mean, it was a pretty simple thing when it started.
It was.
We are going to show sports highlights and live sports. And then when somebody came in and said, so what else are you going to do? We're not going to do anything else. That's what the channel is. And then I understand you have to grow and morph to what people like over the years.
Well,
but they didn't. But when they morphed away from what they were doing. They show less highlights now than they ever have. It's kind of like what MTV was based on, showing music videos. Now try to find one on there.
No, you can't.
I mean, it's not
going
to
happen.
How
Rob
about this?
Deerdeck.
Yeah.
Anytime I pass that channel.
John Berg on the chat. Greetings from Sydney, Australia. Go K-State. John,
right,
great
John.
to have you.
Awesome.
From Robert Goodson. The mandated crossover will probably go away. It was only there to make Bama and Auburn happy.
See, that's what I like about having fans from all over the country is like, look, I try to follow college football as much as possible, but there's so many little things here and there as far as like rivalries or political influence or conference mandates or whatever that, unless you follow that conference on a regular basis, you're probably just not up on. So, yeah, that's a very insightful comment and appreciated. And I am curious about that, the mandated crossover games, and what changes there with that SEC schedule. Because, again, you've already got 4 of them, and making sure one of them stays intact to preserve rivalries like Georgia Tech, or if you wanted to do Oklahoma State or whatever, that makes a lot of sense for tradition's sake. But those other 3, I'm sure you want a gimme game, but do you really need 3 more gimme games or 2.5 more gimme games when instead you could play Texas and have big TV ratings, playing an extra SEC game?
Yeah, if you're an SEC team, one of your non-conference games still has to be against another alpha dog somewhere from around the country. You just almost have to have that. I don't know if Vanderbilt does that or a couple of others. With all due respect, I know they play good people too outside of the conference, but that's interesting. And a couple of others will be against teams that – I'm not.
Vanderbilt plays Stanford this year.
Yeah, and that ought to be who's got the highest SAT test, right?
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
Go back to the calls. There's a lot of you who have texted us as well. Not just the same. It is the same number, 254-339-1122. We'll get to answer some of those after our guest at the bottom of the hour who covers the University of Oregon in football.
All right, Steve in Arlington, you're on the BetUS caller line here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Hello, Steve.
Hey, quick question. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I got you.
Okay. A quick question. Can't, since schools like Baylor and so forth seem like they're going to be squeezed out of college football's big picture, can any school now just go full-blown SMU if they want to put a good team together with the name, image, and likeness thing?
There is that possibility.
Yeah.
Yes. There absolutely is that possibility that somebody could get themselves, and again, you have to have compliance and you have to be careful. You just can't flat out just give a guy, I don't know. I think you can now. Just give him a roll of cash.
A&M, and this is one of the great recruiting stories, the fact they bought Eric Dickerson a Trans Am and still didn't get him, and he was driving it. That's just an all-timer right there. But, now... let's say he had gone to A&M, and we know SMU was offering more than a Trans Am clearly to be able to land him over that nice ride. But now you just say the car dealership is sponsoring Eric Dickerson, and he's driving a Trans Am as a representative of the car company, and that's what we're going to see happening all across the country, and we're seeing it already happen in some cases. But yeah, I guess the thing is you can kind of go full blown SMU. You do have to play under some rules. You can't just Again, you can give Eric Dickerson a car, but he's just got to be a spokesman for the dealership. That's the change. But yeah, there's nothing really preventing that type of stuff from happening out in the complete wide open now. You just have to have that business connection that legitimizes it, so to speak. But I don't know how that helps, the schools that are to your point, kind of on the bubble right now, because they can do it all they want. But then again, the schools who are inside of the bubble very securely are doing it too, and doing it with more money and more people and more strategy. So, yeah, you go full-blown SMU legally, but it's not going to make a difference when everybody else is going full-blown SMU too.
Random tease, full-blown SMU has been happening since long before full-blown SMU.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would love to see how many, because this is technically illegal, but I know it went on at several schools, is how you get a nice car for a player. When it basically, look, if it's David Smoak's car dealership and you own the cars on the lot and you're leasing a car, you can make a lease agreement to whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So if your lease agreement to get Armstrong Sims to come and play for you is $12 a month, well, that's on you, man. Are you going to take a loss on that car? Yeah, but if you're doing it to help the program and nobody can say anything about it, they could, get that lease agreement and throw it all over the news and be like, hey, this is what's going on. And all you have to do is it's my business.
Well, when I think of players whose name, image, likeness, situation, had it been different, had it been more like now, their careers might have turned out differently. Rhett Bomar at Big Red Motors. He could have done that and not had to pretend that he was working a job. Adrian Peterson, same thing. They could have just pretended. They didn't have to pretend. They could just say they're spokesman for Big Red Motors and drive Big Red Motors cars and get paid for it and do a commercial every once in a while, and that would have been fine. But instead, then they had to pretend like they actually had jobs there. Somebody had to fill out fake work reports and, paychecks and whatnot. And that basically ran Rhett Bomar out of Norman, and Peterson, obviously stayed. But that's all. That can all now be done on the complete up and up at this point. So nothing's preventing anybody from really going full blown SMU, like we said.
All right, you got another call? No, that's it. All right, when we come back, his name is Ryan Thorburn. He covers Oregon. We have tried to bounce around the country. Earlier today, we focused in on the loss of the legacy and the greatness of Bobby Bowden with Heisman Trophy quarterback Charlie Ward. Earlier, if you are a Baylor fan or a college basketball fan, Keontae George joined us on his commitment to Baylor. Mario Edwards Sr. played at Florida State and in the NFL. He will join us at 5:15, and then we're not done. Take more of your calls, text, and 254-339-1122. SICM 365 Radio. Right now, the city of Woodway, discoverwoodway.com is where you can find all of the information for what they have. The Arboretum, which you host all sorts of amazing events, from banquets to dinners to weddings and more. The venues they have throughout the city of Woodway. Family Center, where they are hosting events all of the time. And camps and much more, from archery to basketball. And then, of course, there are the parks as well. 4 public parks, picnic areas, playgrounds, walking tracks, and recreational activities. 7 hotels in the city of Woodway for when you need to stay more than a night or two. They have those as well. There's the Arboretum. Of course, they are beautiful. The Arboretum, the Carling Bright Arboretum, hike and bike trail, the tea house, pavilion, fountain. There's the Massey Meditation Grove, the mini gazebo, the butterfly station, on and on of what they have in the city of Woodway. For more information, go to discoverwoodway.com.
Hi, Mark Stewart here with Bird Colgin Ford. Score big with Midway Football and Ford trucks. It's time to catch football fever and find the perfect Ford truck for your next tailgating party. The Ford F-150 has been America's #1 selling truck for 44 years, and Bird Colgin Ford has the perfect truck for you to drive to your next football game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the many truck choices at Bird Colgin Ford. Visit us anytime at bkford.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching Sikkim 365 on YouTube.
Ryan Thorburn writes about Oregon football, has covered the NFL, has covered other schools as well, like Colorado. He now joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Ryan, thank you very much. I put your name up on the guest list in the section, I guess the premium section of our website, Sikkim365.com, and one of the reactions was, he's a great writer. I have followed him for quite some time, so I wanted to throw that your way as well. What has Oregon been thinking these last 2.5 or so weeks since the college football landscape shifted a little bit?
That's a great question. I think Rob Mullins is kind of the athletic director at Oregon is kind of in a wait and see mode. The Pac-12 obviously has a new commissioner who literally started the day all of this craziness was getting underway with name, image, and likeness and now realignment. So I think they're just going to take the temperature of the room, be patient. Obviously Texas and Oklahoma, it might take them a while to get out of the Big 12. So I think meeting with the Big 12 was the remainder of the Big 12 was a first step, but I don't think they're in any rush to do anything right now. As long as they can stay unified and keep USC happy, then I think they're actually in good position. By doing nothing, they've elevated themselves from 5th in the pecking order to 4th.
That's true.
That's very true.
I love the honesty. That's great. You're right. Yeah.
Ryan, do you think that Pac-12 fans would welcome some sort of conference merger, seeing as they would mostly stay together?
I think it would be split. I mean, you have traditionalists, obviously, that are into the traveling partners, and the academics of Stanford and some of the schools, and even Utah getting in. Some of the school presidents were a little weary of adding that, and Utah's a pretty good school. So I think younger people might want to see what it looks like to have football programs like Oklahoma State and Texas Tech in, and then obviously Baylor adds a lot in football and both men's and women's basketball. So from a competition standpoint, it might be an interesting idea. I just don't know cultural from a cultural standpoint, is it a fit or not? Is it worth it? I don't know.
So one of the big things, and obviously there's just rumors galore on social media especially, but one of the things that is really interesting, and I don't know if there's anything to it or not, is we do know that Pac-12 has talked with the Big Ten much in the same way they've talked with the Big 12 apparently. But there is the thought, and even some throwing out the idea of, a USC and an Oregon and a couple of other schools leaving the Pac-12 to go and join the Big Ten, with USC being the big leading brand there. How realistic do you think something like that actually would be?
Well, I think it's kind of, in my mind, like the European soccer when they came out with the Super League. All of the best teams from the different leagues just join forces with their brands and make tons of money, leaving everyone else behind. I think there would be, an outrage if college football went that direction and narrowed it down to like an NFL-style 32 biggest brands. I think that would be, you're leaving so many teams behind, probably, including probably Baylor, I'm guessing. So I just don't see that working. I think cooler heads will prevail, and you might see something more of a a scheduling alignment between the Big Ten and the Pac-12, who have those ties to the Rose Bowl, or maybe even the 8 from the Big 12 are on the schedule more. And because I don't think we've factored in what pays the bills, and it's the only thing driving this. But what would USC have so many sports? Where would all those sports play? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way to look at it. I appreciate your transparency and what you said about now all of a sudden the Pac-12 may be number 4 here pretty soon, if not right now, in the pecking order, because they have at times been forgotten. They have been at times left out. Do they have nervousness there at all? That if, in fact, they're not careful, if somebody does raid them, and Oregon, I would think, would be a blue chip that somebody would want, that they could be next?
I think you have to be concerned if you're Washington State or Oregon State, some of these schools that, have a lot more in common with Ames, Iowa, or Lawrence, Kansas than they do with Los Angeles or Seattle. I mean, you need to hope that USC, like I said, stays happy, and that Oregon, which has national brand, isn't looking to do something super leaguish. So there's definitely concern if you're not, if you're at the bottom of the pecking order in the Pac-12, you don't want to end up like the remaining 8 in the Big 12. I mean, it is something that's already happening in that league, so you got to be wary of.
Ryan, as you look at the team this year under Mario Cristobal, I know that they lost their quarterback, but to the transfer portal, do you feel like they are set to maybe bounce back from? And obviously, last year was weird for everyone, but only playing 7 games and going 4-3 last year.
Yeah, I think they've been building towards this season for a while now. Cristobal has stacked 3 consecutive top 10 recruiting classes together, and they have a bunch of superstars back. So they have a nice blend of old and talented on this roster, and they're deep at most positions. You mentioned the quarterback, Tyler Shuck, is now at Texas Tech. I thought he was going to be a really good quarterback here. They kind of messed around a little bit and put Anthony Brown in the Fiesta Bowl, which was supposed to be a homecoming for Tyler, and he ends up going to Texas Tech. Now it's Anthony Brown's job to lose. I'm not sure Anthony Brown is better than Tyler Shuck, but I think he might be a fit for Bill Moorhead's spread system. So as long as Anthony Brown can kind of just guide these talented guys and not make mistakes, they've got a real chance to do something special this year. Of course, they play at Ohio State week 2. They're missing a couple deep suspended, so that could be a favorite to win the Pac-12.
We've seen Kayvon Thibodeau be one of the faces of name, image, and likeness so far. How have you seen NIL change things at Oregon, if at all?
At Oregon, it's interesting. Obviously, Kayvon is, maybe the most notable NIL deal in college football this year, teaming up with Tinker Hatfield and Phil Knight at Nike. That's a big deal, and it makes a statement to maybe you could develop into this kind of a brand as well. That's a big deal. But at Oregon, it's interesting because I think a lot of the people that are going to benefit from this the most are actually female athletes. Sabrina Ionescu, if she was still here, would have been an NIL giant. Sedona Prince, their star now on the basketball team from Texas, is I think she has 2.5 million TikTok followers. So it's athletes like that, and some of their track stars that go on to the Olympics that are really going to benefit more than most football players. I think the big stars, maybe the next Justin Herbert, will be a big deal in NIL, but for the most part, it's kind of spread around.
Yeah, the Oregon never has to worry about the fact that they're going to be funded when they have Phil Knight in their backyard. I saw where he donated $500 million to something attached to the University of Oregon in some particular way.
That's just a regular Tuesday up there in Eugene, basically.
Most college cities, like for example, there's multi-millionaires in a lot of those cities, but the Phil Knight factor is interesting. Hey, were you covering Oregon when they were looking for a coach and Matt Rule was a finalist there?
Yeah, I was, and that's interesting. That was 2017, right?
2017, yeah.
Obviously, that would have been obviously a better hire than getting Willie Taggart. You know, Willie Taggart did one thing though that the fans really wanted. He obviously he brought Cristobal with him as the offensive line coach, but he made a major inroads in recruiting and made it a big deal and modernized it and used social media to get in on guys nationwide. And Mark Helfrich, you know, did a lot of winning and then it fell off for 1 year, but that staff was old school and they were not into, you know, kind of pampering and babying 4- and 5-star guys just to get them. And then kind of, you know, once they show up, you coach them up, but they were not into the whole 4- and 5-star thing. They were into more of the developmental. And Willie Taggart had the number 1 class at one point, and then obviously that fell off when he left for Florida State. But Cristobal carried that attitude, and you know, so I don't know that Rule would still be here if he had great success. Obviously, he's in the NFL now, so it was just a nice house of cards for Oregon the way it worked out with Taggart leaving and Cristobal taking over.
Yeah, the Matt Rule deal, the day he met with Baylor, and I believe that, I don't know if it was in Philadelphia, wherever it might have been, that night I believe he was supposed to meet, or that later on that day with Oregon, and someone passed away. I don't know if you've heard this story or not, Ryan, but
no.
Baylor met with Matt Rule, and I don't know if he was going to meet with Oregon the next day or whatever. He's going to get on the train and go meet Oregon. And that day when Baylor met with him, one of the things they kept pounding on was that, hey, we understand you got other, you want to go visit with Oregon. And man, that ought to be amazing. You're going to get to meet Phil Knight. But Phil Knight he wasn't in that meeting for whatever reason, because someone was having a funeral and he couldn't make it. Like, who was the former coach? Brian Kelly or whoever? Not Brian Kelly. Chip Kelly?
Chip Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, there was a funeral. So Phil Knight was going to a funeral, something to do with Chip Kelly. And so one of the letdowns for Matt Rule that day was that he didn't get to meet Phil Knight. Have you ever heard that story?
Well, if memory serves, I believe that Chip Kelly's father passed away.
Yeah.
So, given what Chip Kelly did at Oregon during those years he was here, I'm not surprised that he's still tight with Phil Knight. So yeah, that's interesting how that circumstance worked out. I'm not sure, does that really make the difference whether you make that kind of life change or not, whether Phil Knight meets you or not? I don't know, but definitely an interesting
I think it was
series
set up
of events for Oregon.
Yeah, I think it was set up that it was kept pounding. Man, you get to meet Phil Knight. You get to feel, and then all of a sudden, and someone knew he was not going to be there, and that's what I think Baylor was kind of pounded away at that. 2027 and 2028, Baylor and Oregon. God knows where we'll be with college football by then. That seems like it's forever from now, and it is. But I love the fact that Oregon's on the schedule. As you know, for the longest time, Ryan, Baylor's non-conference schedule was just awful. And having Oregon or Utah or Brigham Young and Auburn and teams like that on the schedule has been a lot of fun. Who does Oregon have? What's their non-conference schedule this year? I know the last year's season was all messed up.
Well, as I mentioned, they have Ohio State on the road. Last year, Ohio State was supposed to come here. Oregon had just a tremendous home schedule wiped out completely last year. They were supposed to play North Dakota State and Trey Lance to open things at Autzen, and then Ohio State. So that got wiped out. But so they're at Ohio State, and the return game on that won't be for years from now, unfortunately for Oregon fans. But they also have a powerhouse called Stony Brook the week after the Ohio State game. So if Anthony Brown doesn't play well at Ohio State, there's an opportunity against Stony Brook maybe to throw in one of these 4 or 5-star freshman quarterbacks. And then their opener, September 4th, is against Fresno State, which will be an interesting game. Oregon's new defensive coordinator, Tim DeRuyter, used to be Fresno State's head coach. And from what I've read, Fresno State has a really good offense, maybe the best running back in the Mountain West, and some really good receivers and a good quarterback. So that'll be a good test for DeRuyter and the guys. But I think Kayvon Thibodeau will probably have something to say of how threatening the Bulldogs are that day.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time, Ryan. Appreciate your time. All right.
Hey,
Ryan,
I enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Ryan Thorburn from, again, Oregon, covers the Ducks. Good job getting him on. And that's another school that we try to piecemeal. Friday, you guys had Notre Dame. We've had other schools, UCF and Brigham Young, huh?
We had Kansas as well on Friday.
You did?
Yeah. Get that interesting, all the immediate. We had Matt Tate, our old friend Matt Tate, to maybe show people that, look, the Big Ten move is not any second now, which has been thrown about all over social media.
The Texas and Oklahoma story had not even, the paint hadn't even dried, and you already saw that story. KU's going to the Big Ten.
No, I mean,
2+ weeks later.
I haven't heard, I don't know when the schedules are, but any day now we're getting that Big Ten announcement for Kansas and, Oklahoma State Oklahoma State and Tech are guaranteed to the Pac-12, right?
Yeah,
and then Kansas and who else was it?
Iowa
State, they're guaranteed Big Ten, and then West Virginia's guaranteed ACC. I don't know what's preventing the announcements. Oh, yeah, it's because those are all just rumors, and we don't really know anything right now. All of that could very well possibly come true, but it's definitely not happening right now, and there's not really even any smoke pointing in that direction as of today. But of course, that could change in an hour.
Iowa State hammered Oregon in the bowl game. Of course, we know the Cyclones were really good, 34-17 in the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale. They beat them up pretty good, jumped all over them. That was the Matt Campbell taking out some frustration after losing that Big 12 championship game to who wins it, 6 years in a row now for Oklahoma, something like that, since 2015 and on. It has been their Big 12 title. All right, when we come back, a couple of notes here to close out this 4 o'clock hour. Paul's top 5 at 5:55 in an hour. And we'll also hear from former Florida State defensive back Mario Edwards Sr. Son also won a national title with the Seminoles. About Bobby Bowden and the legacy. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI. They can help you save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars because of what they do. They get a picture of what is hurting you, a ligament, a muscle, whatever it might be, and it's $497 or less every single time. $497 or less every single time, and the average MRI is $1,100. They have state-of-the-art technology. Their machine is amazing. I've been in it a couple of different times. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace on the southern part of Waco, just off of I-35. Dr. Maxey, when I went in for an MRI on my left shoulder, he told me what he saw. He showed me the video of what he saw, and he sent it to my orthopedic surgeon and Dr. David Haynes at Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. He also gave me a little bit of an idea of what he sees and what had been deteriorated or something that might have been more fresh of an injury. In my case, my left shoulder had been bothering me since I was a senior in high school. But I got the MRI, he called me, sent the video, and that's what they can do. Ideal MRI, $497 or less. So if you have a doctor that wants an MRI of whatever is hurting you to keep you from functioning or just something you want to get checked, tell them, idealmri.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screen stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include shower, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Cole. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Make the summer sales event as rocking at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $5,250 or 2.9% for 72 months plus $1,000 bonus cash. The 1500 Crew Cab has the top safety rating and is ranked number 1 in full-size pickup trucks. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Pro Player 2000 MRI when you just don't know what the heck is wrong. No, that's exactly what it is. You're right. Or you think you do, but you want confirmation something that's torn and or shredded and ripped. All right, we're going to have the 5 o'clock hour. Mario Edwards on Bobby Bowden at like 5:15. Paul, got a call here to close out the hour. You want to get at the top of the phone?
Let's go ahead and take Howard here and clear out the lines. Howard in Oregon. I knew that when we sent out the signal to Oregon that Howard would respond on the Bet US caller line on Sikkim 365 Radio. Howard, thanks for your call.
Hell yeah. It's a pleasure, guys. I appreciate you taking my calls all the time. If I get too pesty, just hang up on me. You know what I mean? Hey, I got two things going on here. What the first thing is I want to know what's in the water in Austin, because I'm not talking about the realignment today. I'm talking about an actual former Baylor player. And I want to get your take on it. I've read a little bit about him, but you guys, I want to get it from the horse's mouth, which is you and Paul and Dave, okay? And the guy I'm talking about is Charlie Brewer, okay? And I was reading a Utah thing, they're in our division, in Southern Division in the Pac, and they're pretty high on this guy. And they're saying when he had a bad time or two at Baylor, it was because he didn't have a supporting cast, and I don't know. You hear these stories and you read this stuff and you wonder what the heck is going on with the guy. What's the deal with that guy?
That's $1 million question. We cannot answer it before 5 o'clock, which is enough. There are so many scenarios, but there's some that make sense. Charlie has part of that accountability, and so do some of the people around him. Let's come back and discuss that when we come back, or you want to answer it now, Craig?
I mean, we can do whatever. It's fine with me. I mean, I definitely got an answer, but
all right, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, with Charlie, he had a terrible offensive line nearly his entire career. The offensive line was not good. The year that they were at their best was what was that, 19 when they got to the Big 12 championship game. That line was probably a little above average at its very best, but they had a really good defense, and they had a knack for just making big plays when they needed to, but they were incredibly inconsistent offensively basically his entire career. I've been a bit surprised by all of the hype for Charlie up there in Utah. There was certain UT writers who were writing about his concussion history after his last Baylor game, and yet I haven't heard a peep from them about him being in Utah and playing an entirely new year. So that's kind of weird. But there was an injury concern attached to him as well because of the fact that he got hit all the time. And he has a different type of personality. He is not a big rah-rah, get people pumped up. He's kind of like me. He's very chill, very quiet, and probably more of an internal thinker, so it's kind of hard to get a pulse on his emotions sometimes. In the heat of battle, he might look like he doesn't care at all, but he really cares the most. So he's kind of a curious guy, but he's a great competitor. He's a good runner. He's an average thrower, and he's a good leader. But I am ready to see if it was all the O-line and coaching or that kind of thing while he was at Baylor that prevented him from having a more illustrious career, or if it was a little bit of that and then a little bit of Charlie Brewer as well.
Last year's team was awful on offense. He's the quarterback, so he's going to take a lot of the blame. The offensive line was just awful.
Yeah, terrible.
Charlie is not going to be your prototypical 6'4", 6'5" gunslinger, although he's thrown for thousands of yards in his career, and it was an incredible quarterback in high school at Lake Travis and won state championship there. But someone had to be the fall guy. And you have a first-year coach, you have a first-year staff along the offensive line, and quite frankly, because of how the season before that, Howard, ended, when Baylor went to the Sugar Bowl, and because Jacob Zeno was so good in that Big 12 championship game, in the moments they needed him at the end when he threw 2 touchdown passes, or almost threw the game-winning touchdown, that he became almost like a cult figure. He became like the legend of Jacob Zeno, who could be their starter this year. But because of that, and then how the offense was awful, Charlie took the brunt of it. And I think got sick and tired of it because without him, they don't go to a bowl game in 2018.
No, they don't. And I'll say this. My theory on Charlie was he took too many hits. So it wasn't about concussions. It was more about just your body when you take that amount of hits. And he is not a big guy. If Charlie,
never once did he ever complain about anything when he took hits either. He never threw anybody under the bus.
No, but if Charlie Brewer walked in the room right now and you didn't realize he was a D1 athlete, you wouldn't think he was because he's not, like you said, he's not prototypical build. So those hits, even for big guys. Look, Dante Culpepper was the biggest quarterback I ever seen, and he ran out of hits.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Adrian Peterson is the biggest running back you're ever going to see. Earl Campbell, everybody runs out of hits. And I think Charlie, at least in the short term, ran out of hits here, and I think it really affected him. I'm hoping that for him at Utah, he has a great year and that he's productive. But again, he's athletically limited when it comes to throwing, so you're going to have to build an offense around him that allows for that.
Yeah, and if you've got a good O-line, I think that alone will be, which Utah I would expect will have, then, that alone will be game-changing for him because it's just something he never really had at Baylor, and thus why he took so many hits. So, incredible competitor, definitely a guy you want with the ball in his hands with 2 minutes to go and needing a touchdown. Has great intangibles, is a good little runner. He could pick you up a first down. He's not going to, Heisman Trophy it down the field, but he's capable enough to pick up some yardage when he needs to. But, yeah, he doesn't have a cannon of an arm. Don't expect him to be just dropping dimes deep ball-wise on a regular occasion. That's not going to occur very often, I wouldn't think. But if you put a suitable O-line in front of him, he might look tremendous. We just never got a chance to see it.
Here's a question. Thanks for the call, Howard. The Salt Lake Tribune, this is a story about Charlie Brewer. The media covering Utes football has had limited amount of time to speak to Brewer. Once during spring practice, another few minutes after a 15 for 15, 151-yard showing in a spring game. That was it. In those 2 Zoom sessions, Brewer did not so much as crack a smile. His answers were direct, usable, and he was perfectly polite, but he did not show much interest in diving any deeper than he had to. That's kind of who you get I was fortunate enough to get to know him a little bit better than that and was able to get some information from him. But it's good for him, and I don't know if it would have been healthy had he come back for another year at Baylor.
Well,
I just don't know if that would have been a healthy thing.
And I just think it was time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's been there, or he had been here 4 years. I mean, it's not like it was Vince Young and you're like, hey, let him play for the rest of his life here. It was just like, okay, it's time for something different. Like, we've seen where this can go. We've seen this get taken to the Sugar Bowl and then drop right back down. Like I just think fans needed to see something different because they'd seen the same thing 4 seasons in a row. And the last time they saw it, it was the worst that it had ever been last year. That offense was atrocious. So I wish him the best, and that is one of the biggest questions I have in this college football season. It truly is like my burning questions that I can't wait to see answered is, what does Charlie Brewer look like in some different scenery?
When he's at his best, I'll tell you this, Howard, and anybody watching, Charlie Brewer at his best is not going to be the guy where you were in awe of him like Marcus Mariota when he was tearing it up at Oregon or something like that. He is going to be the kind of guy who's like, why can't we stop this little turd? Like, that's how teams feel.
If he can get back to what he was able to do and get escapability, he's going to win games for them. And Utah's good without him. I mean, they're pretty good without him.
And I use that term with all due love, but that's how the opposing teams feel about him because he is. Again, you look at him, he's not imposing, but he has a will to he's a bee in your bonnet and will not go away.
I hope he's healthy as far as his arm. The story was after his freshman year when he was 1-11, Baylor was 1-11, and he came in, he started and gave them at least something, a little spark, even though they were 1-11. And he was going to, was it the next year Jalen McClendon came in? Was that right? Am I got that right?
Well, it was Anu Solomon when Charlie first arrived, and then eventually Anu Solomon had too many concussions, and he had to go to the wayside.
But who was the transfer after his freshman year?
And then it was sophomore year, it was Jalen McClendon.
All right, he was going to get a few things tweaked in his shoulder, maybe a little bit of a minor, whatever you want to, arthroscopic, just to kind of clean a couple of things up. Jalen McClendon, who was a very talented player from North Carolina State, transferred in, and Charlie knew he had a battle and wanted to compete and didn't get some of that work done on his shoulder, and that also led to some of the attrition in his throwing shoulder and the strength that he had in throwing the ball down the field. But he's not going to be a prototypical NFL-type guy. He just seems he wins. He freaking wins a lot, even though last year he's been through the 1-11 and 2-7. I think you're going to love him if you're Utah. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. How does he do that? You contact them online, pettycliniclowt.com. Top left corner, there's an email address and a phone number. What you do is call them, tell them I sent you, tell them Smokey sent you. If this is for men, 1 out of every 3 men have symptoms of some sort of low testosterone in your body. Could be sex drive, could be your energy, and also it could be as simple as sleeping or you don't sleep very well. Dr. Petty will get you lab work set up, an appointment, get your blood work, check the results, check your testosterone levels, and then if your testosterone level's too low, he will put you in a program or give you the opportunity, the option to get in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, what you need to be, and maybe even in some cases, that's fine as you get older, what you used to be. At pettycliniclowt.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday
Friday after 2 or all day Saturday and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, Bowden, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons. And has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
I know this, if we don't get penalties and we don't get fumbles and we don't get interceptions, we can win the deadgum ball game.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we are. This 5 o'clock hour, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Jack, have not mentioned those who are, we heard from Charlie Ward earlier on Bobby Bowden when he mentioned that how he learned to make sure everybody on staff, even though Bobby Bowden was the czar, or he was whatever that word is, he was the guy. All his staff felt like they were as important. Rick, whoever. Eventually Jimbo Fisher, is that right? Yep. Whoever. And a lot of them were studs. And It's interesting because it's all about making sure you understand who gets the credit. And with what we have here in the studio today with Jack, Hayden, Armstrong, and A-Rob is here. Haven't seen you in a while. Where the hell you been? Armstrong, where's A-Rob been? Oh, don't worry about it. Okay,
we don't care that much.
Okay.
No, you have to care. He's been having.
We cannot do what we do, no matter what. We cannot do it without what we have behind the scenes because it's in a great. Marquise is not here today.
So both A-Rob and Bump were supposed to move into new apartments, and both of them at different properties, mind you, got there, and the apartments were not ready for them.
There you go.
Yeah.
They've
had all summer to have them ready for you with school, getting ready to ramp up.
A-Rob has been extremely angry and texting me constantly.
Constantly is an overexaggeration.
All right, from some of the text lines, 254-339-1122. Go ahead.
And Marquise isn't coming back. He's at the Lariat now. Friday was his last day,
All
so
right,
he missed out on that. But we did give him a great send off, so was happy to send him off on a good note. He did a lot of great work for us, no doubt.
Florida State was a heavy favorite in 2013. Auburn just about pulled it off. Somebody's arguing back and forth about Florida State Auburn in that national championship game that was great. Winston had too much time. There was a stretch where some of these national championship games were amazing. Mm-hmm. What was the one? Was it Clemson and Georgia, Alabama?
Yeah, Clemson and Alabama. Yeah,
Hunter Renfrow. It's not Hunter Renfrow. Who was the one that caught the pass?
That was Hunter Renfrow.
It was Hunter Renfrow at the last second. I mean, at the very Deshaun Watson was the quarterback, correct? For Clemson, as there's going back and forth some of the great national championship finishes in college football history. Let's see here. 254-339-1122. Now, a lot's been going on with the text line as well today, and it continues to kind of look at more of the realignment factor with what's going on in college football still to this day. By the way, one of the comments about Army and Navy that we brought up earlier about non-conference games, they're no joke, undersized, have a talent deficit, but they are coached well, no quit in them. Absolutely, we believe in that. Here's one from the 217. With the corpse of the Big 12 trying to survive, why has no one talked about the 2 New Mexico schools? Beggars can't be choosers.
I think he's kidding there. I think he's kidding. But yeah, you know why.
Well, if the Big 8 remaining teams in the Big 12 are right now on the outside or possibly could, New Mexico and New Mexico State, with all due respect, not a part of the equation.
Well, I think that, going from making nearly $30 million or whatever the Big 12 is making now, like $35 million per year, and knowing that that's going to tank down all the way to approximately $10 million or less if things stay the same and Oklahoma and Texas leave in 5 years, you add in the New Mexico schools, and that $9-10 million is probably going down to like $7 million. So what do they add? They add absolutely nothing. There are not eyeballs in New Mexico that are desirable to TV networks. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just there's not. And they're not big money programs. They don't have a history. And looking back at some of these other programs that we're talking about don't really get a chance to walk through the door. I think the New Mexico schools have had some successes, and they deserve an opportunity to be, involved in the college football landscape. But if that's at least a serious question, they're in no way helping anything with the Big 12, not even helping them get back to 12 teams. I mean, that would be literally what they bring to the table is just the Big 12 would be 10 teams once again, and that's about it. So,
and I agree. I've seen arguments as well about some schools that are a part of Power Fives that seem to be secure because whoever they are were a part of the original conferences, the Power Five conferences, whether it's in the Big Ten or whether it's in the SEC, ACC, or even whatever's left of the Pac-12 or the Big 12 and also the Pac-12.
And let's get something a little straight here. I mean, they can be choosers. I mean, they absolutely can be. A lot of people are throwing out the beggars or trying to throw homeless terms and things like that on these remaining 8 schools, which, you're clearly not a fan of any of those 8 schools, and that's fine. I mean, whatever. But no, they absolutely can be a little bit selective here, because if it was a matter of being beggars, then why wouldn't they have already gone to the New Mexico schools or to whoever and added those schools if it was that simple and if it was going to make a difference? The reason why they haven't is because it would make absolutely no difference. So, yeah, they're going to probably have to get on their knees and beg a little bit maybe in some case, but they're not going to do it for the New Mexico schools. They're not going to do it for North Dakota. They're not going to do it for schools that don't add anything. They don't add anything to the value, and that's what it all comes back to. Just like, and I'll say this against the Big 12, the remaining 8 schools don't really add any value to the Big 10 or the SEC or the ACC or the Pac-12, which is why you've seen those schools stay pat. So, they might be in a bad position right now, but they're still in a much stronger position for at least the length of this contract, which is another 4 years. And we saw how college football changed in 1 week. How will it change in the next 4 years? I don't think we're done here. So they might be the beggars right now, but they very well may be the choosers and not be begging as much in a year or two. We'll see.
I agree completely. 440. Hey, guys, I'm the guy on YouTube. A houseboat on Lake Erie. That's about as cool.
Awesome.
We've had Mexico City, Australia, and now on a houseboat in Lake Erie, ESPN will try to either force the playoff to stay the same or change the playoff expansion to include just the top 4 conference champions instead of the top 6 to keep the group of 5 schools out.
I disagree with that. Part of this working group that they had was because ESPN was upset about their ratings. I mean, it hurt them. So ESPN wants a 12-team playoff. They just want the 12 teams, the majority of them, to be in leagues that they have partnerships with.
Yes, they want a monopoly. They want their teams that are under the ESPN contracts to be the ones that have the best shot. And that's why they're, obviously working in conjunction. I don't care, what people at ESPN say. I absolutely, positively, 100% believe that they were a part of the Oklahoma and Texas move. And I absolutely believe that. So, yeah, I mean, they clearly have their paws all in this, and they do not want this playoff contract to get open here in the next few years. I mean, they're doing everything they can, in my opinion, to try and ensure that ESPN has this control for the foreseeable future, which I think will be a bad thing for college football, unless you're one of the fans of the elite programs that will be involved. But for college football as a whole, it will not be a good thing to be basically entirely ran by ESPN. And that's why I hope these leagues stay together and they let these contracts run out and they allow a Fox or an Amazon or someone else along those lines to at least have a say at the table and to pony up an offer rather than just by default we stick with ESPN and let them run things for forever, because they've shown they can't even run their own network all that well anymore. I'm not trusting them to run college football.
No, and to that end, having all this say and all that, and like you said, Craig, like they can deny all they want that they didn't have much to do with it, but Texas would have to have called them at some point, because they still have how many more years left on the Longhorn Network, and says, what happens with this if we go? And there's the SEC Network. So there's 2 networks that they were involved, so they would have known pretty early on in the process.
Well, and the fact that they have the Big 12 under contract, therefore Texas also under contract with the Big 12, and then they're trying to maneuver the other 8 remaining schools. So ESPN gets Texas and Oklahoma, 2 massive brands, to the network and to the conference that they basically own along with Greg Sankey.
And promote. Which they should promote.
Yeah, they promote the hell out of, and that they are reason number one why the SEC is looked at the way that it is nowadays. I mean, yes, the national championships and the NFL players, that has a lot to do with it, but if you'll remember that original buzz for the SEC and why it was different, and it's not like the Big 12, we play defense here, and all these things as propaganda is what it was that you heard in the early 2000s. That's continued on for the last 15, 20 years and has only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So they have a vested interest in this conference. They get 2 big brands to join. Then they make a maneuver, although they deny it, that they try to move the remaining 8 schools into the American, which who does that benefit? That benefits ESPN, because Texas and Oklahoma don't have to pay massive $80 million buyouts. They just get to walk clean to the SEC, which is under the ESPN umbrella, and the American, which is under the ESPN umbrella, then gets all these other Big 12 schools, so they still have control over them, and they don't have to pay the buyout or worry about the Big 12 holding steady. So, yeah, tell me ESPN's not involved in what's going on. Sure,
I hope a lot of that. I hope Bob Bowlesby at some point does have an ace in the hand. By the way, 50-48 Baylor TCU, or it was 61-58, or 50-48 Oklahoma beating somebody in a classic game as no one plays defense. 50-48 Auburn and Alabama. It's a classic. That's the way it was positioned forever, and it used to just be so obvious. And I think we've all kind of come to that finally conclusion.
By the way, ESPN's today, I don't know if it's like Baylor Day or something, but about an hour ago they had on a random Baylor SMU game. I don't feel like.
No, that was.
No, I believe this is just YouTube.
Oh, is this just YouTube?
Oh yeah. It's just
okay. I was wondering. I was like, why was Baylor SMU and now Baylor UCF on the TV? But okay, it's YouTube. That makes sense.
Yeah, that UCF game didn't end very well.
No.
Didn't start very well either.
That was the week when Baylor ran through the city of Phoenix.
That was the week that the Statesman in Austin sent a reporter to go cover their new head coach, Art Briles, and that didn't end up happening.
From the 254, there are more traditional college football fans who are not fans of the powerhouses. When those fans stop watching because the magic is gone, ESPN will not be any further ahead. Rekindling the Buffs rivalry, you talk about Nebraska, has enormously been fun the last few years. Just feels like the fun has been sucked out of the game.
I get that from a lot of college football fans.
But then again, a lot of these things are happening because of eyeballs, because of the numbers, because of the ratings.
I think college football fans are excited to see what's going to happen. A lot of people, if you're a West Virginia fan, I think you're just using them as an example. You're absolutely nervous about the future of the Big 12, but you're also excited about maybe a future somewhere else that's maybe a little bit more secure. But yeah, this is going to be a season of uneasiness for a lot of people and just a foreseeable future with a lot of uneasiness until some of the chips fall. But as we can see right now, the chips aren't really falling. David Smoak came out and said that he wants the Pac-12 to stick together and was asked about them potentially adding teams. This was earlier today, and said that they'll have to meet certain criteria as far as being competitive in multiple sports and the academic side of things and all that. So it's been a conversation today in the Pac-12, and David Shaw, among some others, have commented on it. So who knows, though, when the next shoe will drop. That's what will be the interesting thing to see.
All right, when we come back, Mario Edwards, he played for Bobby Bowden at Florida State. He's now the head coach of the private school coach John Paul II up in Plano. He's coached recently at Rockwall Heath. He also played in the NFL, started his career as a member of the Dallas Cowboys in the early 2000s. Mario Edwards on Bobby Bowden, the legend of Florida State and college football, who passed away at the age of 91. He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. Look, you've heard me talk about their fantastic selection of spirits, the fast drive-through window, the great selection of wines, the craft beer. But look, they've got high-end bourbons, an array of them. Pinhook, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. And look, if it's high-end bourbon you want, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is where you got to go to get it. You can check them out on Facebook and Instagram. You can go into the store, and like I said, their customer service is second to none. Everybody who works there knows pretty much everything about everything they have in the store. And again, if you just need to go through the drive-through window really quick, it is speedy and convenient. And if you see 5 cars in the line, believe me, they're going to move them right on through. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram. Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street here in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Nothing beats fall, football, and Ford. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. The Friday night lights at Midway High School ignite that electric feeling. And Bird Colgin Ford, we have some cool electric vehicle options as well. Come put your custom order in today for the all-new Mach-E or Ford Lightning. Enjoy the electricity and the lightning speed on the football field and nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 on Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love. Served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We are now joined by former Florida State national champion cornerback, Cowboys, the NFL, now the head coach at John Paul II in Plano, Mario Edwards Sr. with Paul Catalina, an FSU grad, David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio. Mario, you've kind of known, we've known that Coach Bowden was not doing well. When the news came down yesterday morning, your thoughts and your reaction?
Well, it was definitely news that no one wanted to hear, but we knew the coach's situation. I mean, he had been sickly for a while. But the great thing about it is Coach was always at peace with the inevitable. And so it was definitely news that no one wanted to hear. But knowing that Coach was at peace made it all better.
What did he mean to your life?
Coach meant so much, not just to my life, Dave. I mean, to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I mean, Coach was very influential. He influenced so many people. He knew how to hold a conversation, and he knew how to talk to people and make people feel important. And then the way he treated people, the way he carried himself, the way he handled his business. He was a walking role model of being a devout Christian leader, and he was a fair coach. I mean, everyone was treated fairly. Now, everyone wasn't treated the same, but everyone was treated fairly. And just to see him practice what he preached on a day-to-day basis was big time for me.
Mara, you and I overlapped as Florida State students for a couple years. I'm class of 02, and one of the things you always hear about Coach Bowden was he was just the master of the living room and the house and visiting with your family or whatever. But what was your recruiting story? What was the thing that hooked you into Coach Bowden at FSU?
Well, there was no fluff. I mean, he never promised me that I would start. He only promised I'd have an opportunity to start. But he told me that there were a lot of good players already at Florida State, you know, and he thought that I could be one of those caliber players. And so just knowing the track record and the history of Coach Bowden and his record at Florida State, it was a program that I was elated to be a part of, or have an opportunity to be a part of.
to be there, and you got there when they had already really started to establish that run that was insane for almost, what was it, a decade and a half, top 4 finishes. They won the national title with Charlie Ward in 93. And then you guys were close as a junior with Tennessee, but then you won it. What did it mean to be a part of that tradition at Florida State?
Well, my time there, we played for 3 national championships. Lost once to Florida, lost to Tennessee. Was able to get it done my senior year by beating Virginia Tech and that Michael Vick team. But just being the team of the decade, being the team of the 90s, tradition was high. We just prided ourselves on not being that recruiting class or not being that group of guys who let this program down, who didn't uphold the standard of all those great players and great student athletes that had came before us.
I assume the 93 team, probably held a special place in his heart because that was the one that finally realized the dream. But you guys were his best. That 99 team was his best season. Was there something special about that particular group? Because, he had a lot of great players and a lot of great teams, but there was no season that he ever had that went as well from beginning to end as 99 did.
Well, it was a group of guys who were just committed, 100% committed. And not saying that the other teams that he had in the past were not committed, but this particular group of guys were committed. We had played in 2 national championship games, and we all just, the offseason, just said this is our last opportunity to do something special. And it didn't hurt that you had a Heisman Trophy winner in Chris Winkie at quarterback, a Biletnikoff finalist in Peter Ward. Defensively, we were always ranked in the top 3, 5 in the country my time there. So we had pieces in place, but more so than the pieces, we believed. We believed we could get it done. We believed in what the coaches were selling, and we knew we had to go out and execute it, and we had a group of guys that were willing to do it.
One of your teammates on that 99 team, David Warren, who came from Texas, I covered him in high school with John Tyler, a blue chip, a parade All-American. He told me what you said earlier when Paul asked you about how he commanded or owned the living room, about how real he was. Did you ever see him ever get outside of that box?
No, that's a testament to Coach. He was who he was. It wasn't a switch that he had to turn on to be Coach Bobby Bowden when he got into someone's living room. I'm sure he was the same way at home with Miss Ann. I'm sure he was the same way at home. I'm sure he was the same way at church. I'm just sure he was the same way at the family reunion. That's just who he was. And so, yes, it made it easy for Coach to be Coach because he didn't try to be anyone else.
Now, I know that coaches are kind of an amalgamation as you go through your coaching career of not only yourself, but all your coaches. So I do wonder, Mario, how often do you get fired up and say dadgummit at practice?
Hey, I may not say dadgummit in practice, but let me tell you this, though. I tell you what I do often in practice. I do think about some of the lessons that were taught to us by Coach Bowden. It's hard to run a program or be a part of a program. It's hard to even coach without thinking about lessons that you've learned with your time being around Coach. So he's with me daily. He's with me daily, and I may not use his lingo, but I think of him daily. Some of my morals, a lot of my morals and values come from Coach Bowden, and reason being is because he did it, and he did it well, but more importantly, he did it the right way. He did it the right way.
You now have your own program at John Paul II in Plano. George Teague, the AD. We've had George on this show many times. What's it like now to have your own program as Texas high school footballs begin practices?
Well, it's a dream come true. I mean, most coaches, I would think, who coach aspire to be coordinators and head coaches. But to be a head coach, what I've learned by being around and under Coach Bowden is that you can't do it by yourself. You've got to have good people around you. And I'm not afraid to say I like to have people around me who know a little bit more than I do. I don't want to be the smartest man in the room, okay? I want someone around me or a group of people around me who can add to what I bring. And not being afraid that they're going to steal the spotlight or that they're going to get the credit, because when we do well, we all get the credit, and I'm not afraid to single out my guys and let them know that I appreciate them. But for me, being a head coach, I think the first thing I learned is that you got to have good people around you. And I was blessed and fortunate enough to have that.
Mario Edwards Sr., whose son from Denton Ryan won a national championship, the team that Jameis Winston and company was a part of, and kept that tradition alive at Florida State. If you don't mind, you've seen now what's happening with college football and the changes with both Texas and Oklahoma eventually leaving for the SEC. Florida State, of course, is a part of the ACC for a long time, an independent. What are your thoughts as a guy that played at the highest level about what you see with college football right now?
I mean, it's all about the money. I mean, it's all about income. It's all about revenue. I think it's a good move that Oklahoma and Texas be a part of the SEC. I mean, although I played in the ACC, I mean, I'm a football guy, and there's no doubt about it. The SEC is the dominant conference. The SEC is the best conference in college football. So if you have an opportunity to make that move and be competitive in that league, I think that you should. Now, the thing that kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit is when you have high school athletes who the likeness, the image likeness thing. I mean, you've got high school kids who haven't even touched the high school campus and bringing in, 6 figures, some 7, and it's only going to grow from where it is now. My thing is, what would that do, or what is that going to do to the college game? The change of conferences and being a school that goes from one conference to the next, I mean, that's part of it. But when you get to pay players, or players are getting paid, or the ability to be paid, and I'm talking about big money. I mean, what does that do for a college coach? Are you gonna be able to coach this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna listen to you? I mean, he's coming through the door with already, a big purse or a big wallet. I mean, how motivated is he gonna be? I mean, a lot of things have to be taken into account, and I'm anxious to see what it does to the game and how the game benefits or how the game is hurt from this.
Mario, I would be remiss. I had this note in my head about the 1998 game against Florida. You guys, there was a bit of a fracas, to say the least, before the game started. And I know Doug Johnson tried to peg Coach Bowden with the ball and missed him. And Coach Bowden made a very funny comment about it in the post game. But that game in particular kind of sticks out to me with how much affection that you guys had for your coach, and that no Chris Winkie, Marcus Outzen, very inexperienced, and really just dominated a Florida team physically that without your quarterback, most of the time you wouldn't have had any place beating.
I mean, Coach Bowden did say something post game, but that's them. I mean, he was funny when he wasn't even trying to be funny. I mean, but the admiration we had for Coach Bowden, it was like, we dare you try to throw the ball at our coach and get away with it. And you know what? We'll get you back, and we'll get you back the right way, in between the white lines. And I just remember Coach telling us, listen, man, you don't play to the whistle. He said you play to the echo of the whistle. Now that's talking about finishing plays, finishing drives, finishing is what he was telling us to do. And needless to say, after the game, I mean, we did just that, play to the echo of the whistle and came out victorious.
Mario, do you remember the last time you spoke with him?
It was about 3 years ago, actually about 2 years ago. He came by, and I have the video on my phone. He came by to speak to the team, and we were in the theater room, and I sat on the front row, and he just talked about God. He talked about his life. He talked about we all were going to go meet our maker at some point. He talked about the legacy of Florida State. He talked about recruiting. And then he talked about his coaching staff that he had there. And I recorded that whole talk that Coach gave us, and it was during the recruiting process. So we had recruits in the building as well. And I recorded that whole video that he had. And I looked at it the day before yesterday, and I'm like, I did not know that would be the last time I would hear Coach speak to us as a team, speak to us as a staff, and just the opportunity to have Coach speak to us, period. And so, to me, that will always be branded in my mind is that was the last opportunity I had to video or be around Coach, be Coach.
Mario, thanks for your time. Mario Edwards with the Cowboys to start his NFL career, won the national title at Florida State, played in 3, now at John Paul II School in Plano. Good luck to you this week, this coming season, and great to hear from you again. And thanks for all the insight, background, and reminiscing about the great man of Bobby Bowden.
Well, Paul and David, thank you guys for having me. And you guys have a great rest of the day.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. All right, Mario Edwards Sr. played with the Cowboys in the NFL for quite some time. How about this? In his 4 years at Florida State, played in 3 national championship games, won the last one against Virginia Tech and Michael Vick. And his thoughts about the legend and the icon and the late Bobby Bowden as well. I got a note about Baylor's football roster. There's a player, a walk-on, who's left the program because of injuries. I'll have that for you here in just a second. We'll have Paul's top 5 here momentarily. The lines are open, 254-339-1122. If you have something you'd like to jump on, we'd love to hear from you as well. We're going to read some of the text and chat room as well. All right, Paul. Paul's a Florida State alum. Mm-hmm. I told him we're going to have Charlie Ward on you, and I'm still mad at you for this. I hope you noticed that I was a little bit perturbed with you. Yeah. So I sent Paul a text yesterday in a group check, he and Craig. Hey, we got Charlie Ward at 3:30. Excellent. Not, God, you're the greatest thing in the history of the world. Thank you so much. I love you. None of that. Then I say we have Mario Edwards. He doesn't say that's great. The first thing he says to me is, I'll meet you at the studio to do the interview. You're just mean.
I am. I'm sorry I did not feed your narcissism
this
yesterday.
Was all about Florida State. It's all about Florida State.
But I'll tell you, there have been many times on this show where you book Florida State people specifically when I'm not here.
On purpose.
And not in the state.
Because you're not appreciative of them.
Look, and I got screwed out of William Floyd when we were at the radio station.
No, you screwed yourself out.
I absolutely did not. You said
a cuss word on the air covering the Michigan State
and what happened?
Baylor Cotton Bowl.
What word did you say 6 weeks later and nothing happened?
I said, well, I was the boss.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing happened.
I mean,
nothing happened.
You know why?
Because
I'm not the one that suspended you.
And here's the deal. Because that sponsor didn't hear you say it, so it didn't happen.
So, Paul, we're at the Cotton Bowl. We're actually at, what's the name of that hotel?
The Gaylord Texan.
We're doing our show. And Paul threw out the word bastard. And somebody at the old radio station who was always on edge, who wasn't, and he gets offended, tells the owner, and then I have to basically ask you to go to the timeout corner.
I had to sit in the hotel for 2 days and not do the show.
And the next segment we had on the air was William Floyd, the former Florida State fullback, a great player, who ended up playing with the San Francisco 49ers.
But I mean, you also had Kevin Emmanuel and David Warren when I wasn't here.
Yeah, but you know,
I remember, then we were at the Super Bowl the year later in Phoenix, and William Floyd and Derek Deese came up, and if this one was just kind of happenstance, they came up and it was the time during Craig's show, so it was live, so it was like, yeah, we'll take him now, and I just sat there going, well, am I ever going to get to talk to this guy?
Well, you know what? That's what happens when you have potty mouth. That's all there is to it. Now, Paul did this open. God knows how long this is. on Bobby Bowden, which Armstrong in the last 6 shows has butchered the Open at least 2 or 3 times.
3.
Oh my gosh, guys! Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here.
Yeah.
So Paul did this, spent all day.
I blame Emma not being here.
Who?
Emma being gone. Just
she was the backbone. And by the way,
it has thrown me for a little.
A-Rob is up throwing his hands in the air like, okay, throw me under the bus. So everyone's been thrown under the bus except Jack, who will be before the day's over, and Hayden. He's such a sweet guy. We can never.
You can't throw Hayden under the bus.
He never says anything. He just does work.
Yeah, he just.
So
works.
here's the Open, because we haven't talked about Florida State enough today. But here's the Open for today's show. That's 2 hours and 45 minutes late.
This is 3rd down and 2. Bringing the clock down. Bobby Bowden must also determine right away if he goes for 1 in the tie because of this great comeback or 2 in the victory. The staff has to make it up against the blitz. Touchdown, Florida State! Rock Preston!
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Bobby, congratulations. Is this the biggest win for you all time?
No, I ain't gonna say that. I'm not giving Florida that credit.
Okay.
No, it's a mighty big one.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
If I had a tailbacks, if you would be fierce, we'd go run up and down the field. If you were a fierce thing, you could run up and down the field. We're opening holes up there. Get in there and go to the goal line with a dadgum ball. I don't even fancy Danny. Oh, one of you tailbacks ought to tear it up.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
They just beat us in every part of the game. I thought the kicking, the punch that rolled dead on our one, I think they scored off of both of them, I'm not sure. But this kept us in the hole and we couldn't capitalize. They just beat the heck out of us in every part of football.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, so that was supposed to run at 3 o'clock this afternoon. All sorts of highlights in there.
By the way, the Fancy Dannon was from the 85 Nebraska halftime.
Oh, really?
Yes. They did. I don't think they won that game.
They've played each other quite a bit over the years, if you think about it. Bowl games early on, non-conference from Florida State would play anybody, anywhere, anytime. And then also, of course, as well in the national championship game in '93, which is still a thorn in my side because of a couple of calls that went against the Huskers. But, no, I love Bobby Bowden. Loved him. And also always liked Florida State along the way as one of my favorite teams if it wasn't Nebraska. And now I'm starting to look for a new one because of how bad they have been. No, I'll never give up on any of my favorite teams. Craig will be back here momentarily. Paul's top 5 at 5:55 in a second. One note about Baylor football, Ty Moore. I think he was a tight end on the roster. He was from Lorena High School, which is just south of Waco. He has, I don't know if it's officially a medical retirement, but I just spoke to his father, who's the softball coach at Baylor, Glenn Moore. And Ty, he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Had a really good summer and then injured himself, unfortunately, in a workout. It was on his birthday. And he's going to give up the game for now and concentrate on academics. Still going to be a part of the program. He loves Coach Aranda, loves the players, loves the team, loves the program, everything else about it. But Ty Moore of Lorena High School, Jack kind of gave us that tip that he's no longer on the roster. And the reason for that is because he just medically cannot seem to stay healthy. And he knows he has to play at a certain level to contribute, and he's not able to do so with that. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. Right now with total values up to $5,250 or 2.9% financing for 72 months plus $1,000 in bonus cash. And this is all a part of what they're doing. Make this the summer event. Also, along with that, the 2021 Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited, it's your pick with total values of $2,750 or 0% financing for 48 months plus $1,000 in bonus cash. Right now, your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, turning up the heat. Make the hottest deals around the new lineup of Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Make this the summer event.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, Bowden, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
3 great shows this weekend. Actually, 4 great shows. 3 stand-up shows and an improv show I did this past weekend at Slapsticks. Is a blast. Please get your tickets now, slapstickscomedy.com. I'll be there on Saturday night doing stand-up at 9:15 show. All right, so top 5 Bobby Bowden moments. And this is really hard to do because he had a lot. He had a very illustrious career. But let's go to number 5. And this is a question he answered on his call-in show from 1988 until he was no longer the head coach, is when are you going to run this play again? And number 5, the punt Ruski that he ran against Clemson. It was a very, very, very special trick play that was only going to work once. And it worked famously with Leroy Butler, a longtime NFL player, great Green Bay Packer.
He's now a member of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, Leroy Butler?
No, I don't think he is.
Okay.
I don't think he's from Texas.
I'm somebody else.
But yeah, Leroy Butler took this fake punt all the way to the house. It was kind of a combination between a fumble Ruski and a fake punt. Fantastic play, and it was kind of what helped Bobby's legend grow as kind of a trick play. I don't know if he was a trick play aficionado, but he sure wasn't afraid to run them. All right, number 4. The 1998 win over Florida with Marcus Alston at quarterback. Chris Winkie, who would go on to win the Heisman Trophy.
One of the great stories ever.
Broken his neck broken his neck in some regard, but he was out. He was not playing in the game. They had to go in with Marcus Alston. Before the game, there was a gigantic fracas at the 50-yard line between the two teams. Doug Johnson, the Florida quarterback, tried to peg Bobby Bowden with the ball. 2 players were ejected. One of them was a backup offensive lineman for Florida State, and for Florida was Marquand Manuel, who's now a defensive coordinator in the NFL. But he was ejected. He was the starting safety, and Marcus Alston gutted it out, and Florida State manhandled these guys and won the game. And Mario Edwards talked about it on the show earlier about this particular game overall. And here's another Florida moment. Number 3, the choke at the Doak in 1994. Florida State was trailing Florida 31-3 as they headed into the fourth quarter, would wind up tying that game 31-31, and widely regarded in the circles as kind of a win for Florida State and a loss for Florida, even though it went down as a tie, because back in 1994, you didn't roll into a quarter down 28 and win. It just didn't happen. Offenses didn't run as fast as they did, but Florida State had that tremendous comeback and tied the game. Both teams finished, or at that point, 9-1, and 9-1-1 after that game. Number 2, the 1993 National Championship. This is the one that broke through. This is the one that constantly breaks Smokey's heart because it was a very controversial game, a lot of calls. Most of them went Florida State's way. I mean, if there were 10 calls in this game that could have gone either way, 8 of them went to Florida State in this game.
4 of them. Late hit on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they may not have still kicked the field goal. The William Floyd touchdown. The 4th and 1.
William Floyd also, yeah.
And those are 3 for sure.
Yeah. So those calls went that way, but this was
okay.
This was the culmination, though, if he finally was able to do it. And he had great teams for a long time, for about a decade, until this happened. He finally broke through. And then after this, played in a couple more national championship games before. Number 1, the 1999 national championship game. There's Bobby and Peter Warwick right there. A game which was pretty much controlled by Florida State, except for the third quarter where Michael Vick became Michael Vick for a good long while, and they took a 1-point lead for a short while. But Bobby Bowden gets his second national championship, and the 1999 team was his, I don't know if they were his best team player for player, top to bottom. I mean, you could probably make an argument that 93 and 94 had better maybe players top to bottom, but this was the most dominant and successful team from top to bottom and won that national championship. So rest in peace, Bobby Bowden. Thank you so much for the memories. I will always appreciate it.
All right, Craig, anything to wrap up?
Yeah, did you mention the overall medal count?
I don't think we did that, but there was a controversy.
Suck it, China.
Yeah.
USA, baby.
Yeah.
China tried to add Taiwan and all the others. Go ahead.
No, let me finish your thought. You're halfway out.
No. China tried to add other countries to their medal count in their media to looked as if they won the overall medal count.
Well, it's too bad because they didn't, because Taiwan's medals don't count for China, nor do all the other countries that are attempting to claim or will continue to attempt to claim. If you take a look at the Philippines, Malaysia, all those areas where they're bullying the waters out there, because that's what the Chinese do. But not only did the USA have a late run to surpass China, which overall medal count, they did that, I think, a couple of days ago, but they notched one more gold medal as well. So a double whammy for the Americans, 39 gold medals, the most in the world. China had 38. And Team USA, 113 overall medals. That included 39 golds, 41 silvers, 33 bronze. And China was second overall, 113 for the Americans, 88 for the Chinese. So USA, baby.
And
USA.
it really was, in some ways, a disappointing Olympics for the men's in track and field.
Yeah.
In some ways,
and they still ended up.
Well, I'll say this, and this would have been the case for all countries. If not for this, and I think the Carrington thing that happened, or the runner that we suspended because of pot, was made to look worse because we suspend a runner for pot, and Russia can still have everyone in the Olympics.
Yeah. Richardson?
And so, Richardson, I'm sorry, Richardson, she's not in for pot. Russia still has their whole team in the Olympics. They just don't get to play the national anthem when they win gold. So that medal count would have probably been a lot different all across the board for a lot of people had Russia not been allowed to compete in this thing.
Yeah, and if Team USA track, had a little better relay coaching, then maybe they get like a bronze or something rather than just a complete disappointment. But shout out to Brittany Griner. She did take home a gold medal. Team USA women's basketball. I think we're probably going to see more of her in the next few years than we saw in the last few years. So congrats to her.
I do agree with that. Thanks again to A-Rob. Thanks to Hayden, Jack, Armstrong, Craig, and also Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Thank you, and Sikkim 365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott at edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.